gentlemen.
Wow, that was very stimulating. Hello. Whoa. Oh, hold on. It's auto-playing. Stop, 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 stop. Oh, it started auto-playing from Kamide Music for Bugs full album. Great video, but I don't have permission to play that on my stream, so stop it. You stop it. You stop it. Okay, there we go. Hi, everybody. Let's minimize this and bring this over here and do all the things. Oh my gosh, we already have 39 people in here and 25 likes on the video. Thank you so much. No, Merlin! Merlin doesn't have a sub, so the dicks emoji don't work. Somebody came in clutch, though. Get the dicks combo. Let's go, right at the top of the stream. Dicks combo. Dicks, 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 dicks. Nope. No combo. Sorry, I'm just looking at the website chat over here. What they're doing over there. Luxandra.net/live is where you can, if you want to support me through a donation, that's the best place to do it. If you want to join in the chat where you can set your custom pronouns, that's the place to do it. If you want more custom emojis, there are custom emojis on YouTube. You just have to have a membership on the channel to access them, and there's only like 4 of them. So there's a lot more of them on the chat. What's everybody's favorite custom emoji on my chat? They're little dragon guys, by the way. They're little dragon guys based off of the Pepe and also kind of sort of based off of Demon Mama's imps. So, yeah, I don't know. We've got hypers. We've got Pepe hands. I love Pepe hands. Pepe hands, whether it's mine or it's just the Pepe where he's like, he's doing this and he's like crying. I think it's one of the best emoji that exists in the world right now. But anyway, hello. YouTube chat is bumping today. Website chat's a little bit slow, but we've got Trinket, Merlin, Drea, and Shakespeare, as well as maybe some others doing the Dicks combo in the website chat. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. On YouTube, there's Mixed Dizzy, but a different Mixed Dizzy than my good friend Mixed Dizzy, so that's fun. Nico, we've got June, Bloody Hatter, Calacia. We've got Destiny, hello. Welcome in. Squirrel Knitter, also a great name. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I put the cat emojis behind a paywall also. I got to get in touch with EB the Purple and see if she'd be willing to make me another kitty cat emoji because I have a new kitty cat. Her name is Mina, and she's eating wet food right now. I was like kind of, doing my pre-stream running around and stuff, and she was like, hello, excuse me, I want something. And I was like, oh, shit, yeah. Normally I feed her at 3, but I'm, do a little bit early on Wednesdays because I'm streaming. I could be your good friend too. True. Yeah. Kitty's behind paywall. I know. It's terrible. The Dicks emoji's behind the paywall. Kitty behind paywall. Yeah. Hermit of Hedge. What a great name. It's like you're a hedge knight, but instead of being a knight, you're just kind of like... Meh. No worries, Calacia. Listen, I'm never going to be annoyed if y'all don't want to donate. I'm just like kind of operating under the assumption that most of us are having a hard time right now. I have a job with Jimmy and the Line where I make like a pretty good amount of money every month. So I'm never worried about donations, anything like that. How is New Kitty adjusting to her new home? She's doing well. She is starting to get comfortable. And she's been comfortable the whole time. She's got a pretty bold personality. That's what we liked about her. She's pretty bold. She's friendly. She's a little bit spicy. Basically, all the things that we like in a cat. She's playful. She'll play the games that we like to play with her. And she's doing well. I do feel a little bit bad for her because I took her to the vet pretty soon after we brought her home because I knew that there were some behavioral things, not behavioral things, shit. My brain just souped out, which is crazy because I took Ritalin today. She had some medical stuff that needed to be followed up on. Like she got a vaccination while she was at the shelter, but we needed to get her a second vaccination, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, we got her several vaccines and we got, flea and her tapeworm taken care of and everything. And then we needed to do a follow-up appointment. So I actually had to take her to the vet again this week. I feel bad because there was only like 3 weeks between those two things. And we've only had her for a little bit over a month now. So, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I feel so bad. Putting a cat in a car and everything. I feel their stress so much. Like I have so much empathy for the fact that they don't understand what's going on. And I had to like take her outside and everything. Yes, we got her rabies shot. That was it. That was included in the like lots of other stuff that we had to do at the vet. And we even got her like a leukemia vaccine, even though she's not really going to be outside. Like, because leukemia is fucking contagious amongst cats. That's crazy. Well, I say that's crazy. It feels crazy, the idea that cancer could be contagious. But then again, COVID is contagious and it causes cancer. So that's cool. We now have contagious cancer amongst human beings that we didn't have before. Isn't that great? So yeah, I like that last poll option. Thank you, Banana Brains. I just watched A Few Good Men for the first time because we're watching it for the podcast. The Many Worlds Hypothesis. If you guys didn't know, if you're ever like, oh, Lux isn't producing as much content right now, or like, oh, Lux, have you abandoned your Musing Moss channel? Are you no longer going to be talking about queer movies and stuff? If you're ever worried about any of those things, just know I have a podcast with Gayfesh and Demon Mama where we talk about movies. Right now we're doing Rob Reiner direct. Like we've been doing this thing where we'll watch like all of Star Wars Andor or all of the Star Trek movies. So we kind of do it in seasons and like chunks. We did 4 movies directed by Ari Aster. And then we just are doing the movies directed by Rob Reiner. Not all of them, but we picked 8 movies directed by Rob Reiner. And it turns out that a lot of them are really popular movies. Yeah, the Harvard mouth thing is a reference. So actually, I'm censoring. I had to keep it within a certain number of characters, but I'm also censoring it a little bit because there's a scene in A Few Good Men. If you don't know, A Few Good Men is the You Can't Handle the Truth. That's that movie. So it's about like a military court case with the, and you're getting the perspective of the lawyers and all this, blah, blah, blah. And there's a point at which they go to Cuba because the whole premise of this is that a soldier committed a crime in Gitmo, like a soldier whose job it is to guard the walls at Guantanamo Bay. So they go to Cuba, or, in the movie, they go to Cuba to talk to the colonel there and get the, information from him. And he is played by Jack Nicholson. That's the Jack Nicholson character. And he tells Tom Cruise at one point, he's like, yeah, I'll do that for you. You just got to ask real nice. You come down here with your faggoty white uniform and your Harvard mouth, and you need to ask me nicely. And it's just really funny, kind of comes out of nowhere. And I just thought that was amusing to put, like, I'm thinking about it, ask nicely with your Harvard mouth. And yeah, so I put that in there on the poll. So yes, it is a reference to A Few Good Men, which is a great movie, honestly. It's like 2.5 hours long from 1992, which feels crazy. Anytime I'm watching an older film, I expect it to be a maximum of about an hour and a half. But yeah, 2.5 hour movie, very densely dialogue packed. And I've got plenty of thoughts that I shared on the podcast episode. We only just recorded it this week, so it'll be a few more weeks before it comes out on Gayfesh YouTube channel. But yeah, if you just go to Gayfesh, Fesh, on YouTube, you can find that. And it's a very good movie. We just published the Princess Bride review, which I've seen the Princess Bride a million times, but I had never watched it with a critical eye, where I'm like, I'm thinking of it in terms of movies and what do movies do and all this kind of shit. Is my cat yelling? I think she's yelling across the house. She does that sometime. But Nico's now here. What's up, Blue? I'm currently trying to make the same budget that was straining for one adult and a high energy cat stretch to now 2 adults and a high energy cat. Yeah, that is stressful. And I'm sorry that you're dealing with that, Trinket. Listen, like I said, don't worry about me. I'm doing okay. I'm actually considering completely phasing out the streams because I'm doing okay financially otherwise. And I also, I've been talking about like switching careers and all this kind of stuff. No, I'm sure you can't hear her. She's literally across the house. I just heard her very faintly. My water jug officially needs to be washed. So I went to fill it earlier and I was like, oh no, this thing is too dirty. So now I'm drinking 0-calorie soda drinks. I feel like Godfather and Part 2 are both over 2 hours. I don't know. I haven't seen The Godfather. This is what I mean. There's like a lot of these older movies that I haven't actually watched. Budgets are hard, praying to the gods I don't believe in that they don't fuck with my disability. Truly. I'm so sorry. Yeah, the disability process is fucking hard. I see the first mention of Lego. I just kind of put it over here because I don't really have another good space for it, but my partner did get me the Barad-dûr Lego set. So I have the Dark Tower with Sauron's eye at the top of it. It's still in the process of being built. It's in my living room table. So I could potentially bring out the chunks that I have finished and show them to you, and I might. I would really like to show off some of my minifigs. But, yeah. Pretty delightful novel. A Few Good Men? Oh, Princess Bride. Yeah, totally. Ben-Hur is more than 3 hours? Jesus. 0-cal, I may have to see if they have none with ickies I'm allergic to. Yeah, this one has Ace K and aspartame. Those are the two sweeteners that are used in a lot of the sodas that I've decided to start drinking, so... Then, yeah, Blue says, I just saw Sam Raimi's new movie, Send Help, last night, and the number of people still insisting that calling shit that sucked gay in the 90s wasn't even about gay people, rather replete with casual homophobia, the 90s. Yeah, totally. Yeah, watching these older films, it's so interesting how, like, casually, like, they'll throw in the R word, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize that the R word was being used, like, in movies this way. By R word, I mean, like, the slur against developmentally disabled people. Yeah, so they use the R word, they use the F slur. I can't remember if we've listened to any movies that have the T slur in them, but we are going through, like, older films, so we might come across that. We'll see. Talking about chewed gum this week. Yeah, so just to be clear, even if I don't continue streaming here, which I'm not making any immediate decisions around that. I'm saying, like, it might start petering down. Like, I might go down to only once a week or even less than that. Just because this is just, we're hanging out and I like doing it, but I don't have a huge, like, amount of direction for this, and it's not my primary thing anymore. So yeah, but enjoy it while it lasts, because we're going to keep, we're going to keep going for at least a little while. But as far as chewed gum and Takis and all that, I'm going to be working really hard with the line this year. I told Jimmy, like, even if I go to school or anything, I'm going to still be dedicated to helping the line grow. So y'all said earlier, Banana Brain said, I wish you weren't producing the last chewed gum stream and instead were hosting, because you would have ripped Mark to shreds. Yeah, that was tough. I did interject a couple times, and I'm kind of not supposed to interject at all, but yeah, that was a frustrating conversation, And one thing that it's just, each kind of host is different. And I like to answer questions, but you kind of have to balance answering questions. Like when a theist calls in and they're asking, where does your morality come from? Then, they're asking you to answer more and more specific moral questions. While I like the process of getting down to the nitty gritty, I also think it does put you on the back foot and make you look like you're being defensive. And so I would like the opportunity to have that kind of morality conversation. It was so creepy though, because he kept bringing up sex. He was like, oh, is incest always wrong? Or, can we agree that incest is always wrong? What if it's, and they were like, yes, it is always wrong because here's these harms, like genetic problems for the children and unhealthy power dynamics between the family members. And then he's like, what if they're twin brothers? They were born at the same time and there's no power dynamic and there's no possibility that there could be a child or whatever. Just getting into like more and more specific, creepy, weird sexual questions. And then the necrophilia question of like, well, whatever. There's like, how can you say that necrophilia is bad if there's no problem with consent or power dynamics? And it's just a fucking insane conversation. That was wild. And I want you guys to know, some of you said conversations like the one we had with Mark makes me miss Andrew. Andrew was there. Andrew called in and we just decided not to take his call. Like, I mean, we were like, we're open to the possibility of taking his call depending on how the show goes. But yeah, Andrew was sitting there waiting. We could have taken Andrew in. Instead, we took Mark. And frankly, I kind of think it was a better clip, but I wish I could afford Lego, but all the good sets are half my rent. No kidding. Yeah, my partner got an unexpected bonus at work, basically. And so he had a little bit of extra money. And boy, I was fucking spoiled this weekend. I waited. I didn't stream on Sunday. I didn't work at all on Sunday. I took the long weekend and we kind of just hung out the whole time and played Lego and, just had a really good time. And I was doing the Barad-dûr Lego set and my partner, oh man. So in the lead up to my birthday, my partner was like, hey, is there anything you want for your birthday? Even if it's just kind of an expensive fantasy, where are you at right now? Like, what kind of stuff are you thinking about? And I told him, a snowy weekend in a cabin, Barad-dûr Lego set, or just the other two Lego sets that I've been wanting to fill out. I have the plum blossoms and the mini orchid. And in that same Lego botanical set, they have the bamboo and the chrysanthemum. So I want those other two to fill out my set. And I was like, I would also like a bidet, but somebody else does all of the work of researching which kind and installing it. And I have a fucking bidet now in my toilet. And that's awesome. There's a learning curve. This is what I didn't realize this, but there is a learning curve for learning how to use a bidet correctly. Gotta love people who insist on creating vacuums to win arguments. Yeah, that was crazy. What's up, Mountain Eucalyptus? What's up, Dorian? Hello. The dead person still has bodily autonomy. Yeah, that's the one thing that I think that they didn't hammer in on. And I'm not criticizing Taylor and Alyssa. They have their particular subjects that they're really good at. And, this was just a tough one. But it's harm and bodily autonomy. I don't think they ever mentioned bodily autonomy as one of their primary ways that they base their morality. But yeah, it's like a corpse still has bodily autonomy. And we as a society have decided that harming a corpse is harming everyone. Like, that's another thing. It's like harming a corpse and denigrating the humanity of the person. Like, as a society, we place value on honoring their wishes and not abusing their remains effectively. So anyway, it's a fucked up conversation, and it would be interesting to have that conversation, and I would like to. We'll see if fucking idiot Mark calls back sometime. Somebody asked me a question a minute ago. What was it? What are your thoughts on reclaiming the F slur or the T slur? I'm curious as I've had trouble landing anywhere definitively on it. I am kind of the opinion that if you are one of the targeted groups, it's good to remove power from those words because, like, so here's the thing, nobody can hurt me by insulting me or like using my identity as an insult. But that has been the work of years. I've put effort into that. So if somebody wants to call me the F slur or the T slur, or if they're like, ew, you're gay, or they're like, ew, you're a freak, all of these words to me are just like, you can't use what I am as an insult against me. In fact, I'm proud to be that thing. I'm not going to impose that on anybody else, obviously, but I would like to get to a point where those words are like normal enough that using them doesn't ping anybody in their brain. Like, when you hear a black person say the N-word, it doesn't really do anything in your brain, right? You're like, yeah, that's a word. That's like, it's like saying brother, like whatever. They're just talking. But like when a white person says the N-word, you're like, hold on. So I kind of would like to get to a place where it's more like you don't really notice it. Like it's just a word. I know, like, yeah, you call a transmission a tranny, whatever. Yeah. So I personally like reclaiming slurs. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to impose that on anybody else. But yeah, even queer was/is a slur, but that's like what we call it academically. Queer studies. That's the name of the fucking class. That's the name of the fucking minor degree. You can get a degree in queer studies. I don't actually know if that's true. Can you? Hold on. Let me ask that question. Can you get a degree in queer studies? Queer studies at Oregon State University is the first result I get. So yeah, you can get an undergraduate minor in queer studies at OSU here, and Portland State University has, they call it sexuality, gender, and queer studies. It's a minor, or actually they have a bachelor's degree or minor at PSU in sexuality, gender, and queer studies. Yeah. So getting to that place of like, it doesn't fucking matter. You can't hurt me with this. That's kind of my opinion, but I'm open to the fact that people feel a lot of different ways about it. And I want to be clear that even though the word queer is used in this official manner where you can literally get a degree in queer studies, there are some times where when I hear a person say queer, I'm like, haha, I'm in danger. Like I can tell the difference. Kind of like I can tell the difference between when somebody is calling me by its pronouns, which I prefer sometimes, its pronouns. I can tell when they're doing it in a friendly way that's trying to honor my request versus when somebody is calling me it in a derogatory manner. So I'm not saying that it's like, okay, it's okay for everybody to say queer or in every context, or it's okay for everybody to say the T slur or the F slur in every context. But, and I try to be sensitive. Like sometimes I want to call my partner the F slur, but I also know that he was actually made fun of with it by an older family member when he was younger. So I'm like, I'm a little bit less likely to call him it. But sometimes, I want to affectionately be like, oh, you little fan. I don't know. I always wished we could reclaim transvestite. For me, transvestite is just a fun little word because I hear it and I think of Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm just a sweet transvestite. It's very, it's just very fun for me. Although I know that plenty of people have problems with RHPS too. Not everybody likes it. It is definitely messy. It's definitely messy as far as representation goes. Again, chill with the all caps. Y'all know how broadly, or maybe y'all don't all know because you're not on the line chat, but some of the very few things that we police on the line chat is like all caps. No all caps. We don't need you yelling. You can make your point without yelling. Don't spam emojis. That's another one. Queer was originally a word we created for ourselves anyway. They can keep their grubby hands off of it. I don't actually think that's the case. Queer just kind of generally meant like strange for a really long time. But because queer can be used in a way that's like you're strange in a gay way, or that gay people wanted to embrace being othered in the way that, like, freak, again, like freak, except that queer doesn't have that kind of negative connotation. It could just like generally just mean like, oh, that's a little weird, or that's a little odd. Yeah, so I think it's sort of embracing that otherness in that way. And this, the great tradition of all my queer elders is embracing our otherness. And I respect and appreciate that. I still don't really get why transvestite is considered a slur now. I think every term that's considered a slur is a slur because it has been used to harm people. So, like, transvestite is a type of dehumanizing language, at least in the manner that it's been used. So that's another reason why I'm like, we could get to a point where there kind of aren't slurs because we take all the power out of them, But I understand people have qualms. I'm not going to give every cis person I meet the T-slur card. I'm not handing out permission cards. Oh, damn. We got people in the chat who are having trouble with disability benefits. I'm so sorry. I don't think that problem is going to get any easier either. Queer could also mean off-center. The guy who taught me to do drywall used the word queer to describe lines that didn't line up correctly. Okay, I could see that. Yeah, that angle's queer. You gotta fucking tune it in. That's cool. The term eccentric as well. Sure, yeah, the term eccentric, meaning like, it kind of, yeah, like I can see eccentric having the same sort of old-timey historical meaning as queer. Like, oh, he's just a little oddball. He's just a little, it's just a little, it's just a little, it's just a little, it's just a little. Anyway. Queer came out of the same paradigm as invert or inverted. Transvestite is also not the same as transgender. The conflation came out of intentional ignorance around the nuance of gender expression. Yeah, I always kind of understood transvestite to be like a kind of spicy word for a crossdresser. And even the cross-dressing term, like cross-dresser itself, is also a term that is loaded and, like a drag performer, excuse me, is kind of like the proper way that we would describe that. I'm drinking carbonated soda and surprised that I'm burping. Love that for me. Oh, yeah, the Oceanography, great name, by the way, says the golden rule of slurs, don't use slurs that ain't yours. That's true. You will not be hearing me say the N-word. Sometimes I hear it in my head, but that's usually after watching, like, Sinners a bunch. And then it's in that same kind of casual way with the not hard R, So it's like slurs can happen in your brain. That's the thing, too. I think if slurs that are not yours, which is, again, I'm going to steal that. Don't use slurs that ain't yours. I also think that we need to not beat ourselves up because words exist in our minds. Like, if anything, this is the whole thing about Tourette's. And we were having this discussion a few weeks ago with the BAFTAs that the more taboo a word is, and the more you try to desperately avoid even thinking the word, you're just making it more likely. You're just reinforcing the stigma around it. You're just making it more likely that you're going to think it in the future. If you're just like, yeah, that word popped up in my head because I've heard it a bunch. Cool. Also, to be clear, completely clear, y'all, I grew up around a shit ton of black people. And so that's my, like, if it's happening in your brain, that could also just be because you literally fucking grew up around it, which is my situation as well. Yeah, and to be clear again, I'm not going to impose that on anybody else. I'm not going to call someone else by a term that they don't like. And I'm not saying that we should all reclaim the words. I'm just saying, that the words themselves shouldn't hurt you. They can be information, Like if somebody uses the T slur and they're following you, right? Like that's information where you know that there is like a danger situation, but I'm not going to tell you, oh, you should call yourself that, you know? So do whatever you're going to do, babes. And I'll do whatever I'm going to do. And I'm not, as like amongst my friends on the podcast, sometimes we'll use slurs. The ones that are ours. Like I said earlier, you know, we were watching A Few Good Men, and it's like, you know, that faggoty uniform with your Harvard mouth. So the F word came up on the podcast a few times. There's going to be, if you listen to that episode of the podcast, there's going to be like a solid 2 minutes where you just hearing a lot of beeps. You just hearing a lot of beeps. So I hope that you enjoy that. You can listen to the uncensored version on Spotify, though. Have you heard of Tennessee legislation? I have not. Let me double check and see if I've heard anything. Does Aaron in the morning have anything about it? Wisconsin, Romanian court, Minnesota. Let's look at Pink News. What's the news out of Tennessee? What am I hearing out of Tennessee? New Tennessee legislation will start tracking anyone seeking gender-affirming care. Really scary. Yeah. I would say, like, I would agree that that's scary, but okay, so here's the thing. Please don't take this as me downplaying the severity of any of these anti-trans legislations, but that is not new. The idea that, oh, we're tracking anybody seeking gender-affirming care, because, okay, y'all have heard recently, Kansas just passed, like, I was going to say one of the most intense anti-trans laws, but then Idaho came up and decided to make it even more intense. But anyway, Kansas passed a law revoking people's driver's license and making it illegal to use public restrooms as a trans person effectively. And, you know, everybody's all worried about that. And that is truly something to be worried about. But at the same time, a year or two ago, before I even moved, they passed basically the same law where they're like, you know, your gender marker has to be such and such on your driver's license and you can't use public bathrooms. But there wasn't an enforcement method on that. And that law is being held up in the courts. So they just fucking passed another more intense law. But during that first law, Chris Kobach, the attorney general in Kansas, was like, oh, I'm going to have a list of these people who have changed their gender marker on my desk, which is probably how they knew which people's driver's licenses to revoke and like who all to send the letters to saying we're revoking your driver's license. So I'm like, oh, I am literally myself personally am on a list on an antagonistic attorney general's desk as a person who has legally changed their sex marker. So like the idea that Tennessee is making a new, I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, we done that. Sorry, like I'm like, yes, it's bad, but it's also not new. So I'm like, I'm not any more scared by this than I was 2 or 3 years ago when the thing happened in Kansas. So anyway, it's bad. I just, like, what else can I say? What can I say except we're fucked now? I don't know, like, that's kind of why I'm drifting away from doing politics and stuff on my show, is because I'm just like, what can I possibly say? Like, oh, this is bad. But the ACLU is suing, and there's 2 trans men who are suing in Kansas about the bathrooms thing, and da-da-da-da-da. And then even if it goes a certain way at the lower level, they're going to keep appealing it up, and eventually these cases are going to start appearing before the Supreme Court, and then we're going to have, like, basically, most likely in many cases, federal Supreme Court level, like the United States Supreme Court level rulings against trans people. We're fucked. Like, I'm like, I don't have anything else to tell you about that right now. I don't know what else I can say. And it may be like I sound really doomer, but I'm just like, I don't have any control over this. None of us have any control over this. I've watched dozens, if not at this point, hundreds of videos of trans people appearing for public comment and saying, hey, like, this is me, this is my life, this is how this is going to hurt me, this is how it's going to impact my family. And for like watching these panels of fucking white men mostly then go on to vote for that thing that a bunch of people just said, this is going to harm me, here's how it's going to hurt me, Or even if you have people who are like, hey, you're targeting trans athletes in high school, but there's only one trans athlete in the whole fucking state of Utah in sports in high school right now. So no matter how many appeals we've made to these people, no matter how obviously it is negatively impacting the economy of these states, because I moved the fuck out of Kansas. So guess what? My income tax for Kansas, nope. Any sales tax of anything I would purchase from Kansas, I have been in the mindset and in the space of like, we need to buy a house. So guess what? None of my property taxes go into Kansas. I actually just saw a map recently, and I don't know if I'll be able to find it again, but it was like showing how many trans people live in each state, basically. Kansas only has like 22,000 trans people living there. And Oregon doesn't honestly have that many more. It was 30 some odd thousand trans people living here. Yeah, so I don't know. I just don't I don't have anything more to say about it, which sucks. And don't worry, you're not opening like a can of worms or anything. Like, it's fine. I don't mind when you guys have questions. That's the personal relationship that we have, that when you have concerns and you want to know my thoughts or like what we're going to do going forward or anything, my thing I keep coming back to is just focus on the community, focus on who you can help personally. I'm not going to tell you what to do. If you want to stay in those states and fight, I think that's reasonable. I wanted to leave and go to a safer place. And now that I'm here, I still feel like I'm under attack and I'm not safe, but I refuse to leave the country, right? So we're all in these different places. Some people are in Kansas and they say, I refuse to leave. I'm from here. I love it here. I've wanted to move away from Kansas since I was quite young. My love and appreciation for Kansas has been more recent. The last few years I've lived there, I've been feeling like, that part of me will always be there. And like, I was shaped by that place. And it's important to me that I'm from there, like that I have a semi-rural background, that I have a little bit of country in me, right? Like that I have like a trade background and I was always surrounded by tradesmen and blue collar workers. Like all of those things are very important to me. And also I'm very happy here. It's fucking beautiful in Oregon. We've got a gorgeous rainy day in the valley today. And I can trust that my politicians are going to be looking out for me. I don't know. Everybody's got their own choices to make and everybody has their own limits. And if you want to double down and try to fix things in Tennessee, I think you should do that. And if you want to get the hell out of Tennessee, I will share your GoFundMe, like I will do what I can to help you. I'll even pitch in $20 if I can afford it, so I transitioned to expand my slur pass. Yeah, I transitioned to have access to even more slurs. True. Yeah, I've been in Oregon for a little bit over a year. It's been great. I don't know that much anything about Kansas. How pro LGBTQ is Kansas? Well, okay, so you have this trouble in rural states where the majority of the land mass in a rural state is going to be red, but there are pro-queer places, right? So I know a ton of queer people who live in Lawrence, Kansas. I know a lot of queer people who live in Kansas City, Kansas. So as far as those places, it can be pretty good. It can be good. It depends on where you live. And then if you get out into the rural areas, that's going to be a little bit worse. Interestingly, so Kansas often has a fully Republican Congress, but twice in my lifetime that I'm aware of, we have had a Democratic governor. So, Kathleen Sebelius when I was a kid and Laura Kelly now. But so it's interesting that you gerrymander the shit out of it. Some of my friends from Kansas were talking about how in Lawrence, there was a recent congressional district rewrite that basically cut all of, like, basically cut Lawrence up into pieces and put those pieces into otherwise, like, the red chunks outside the city in that way where, you know, it's like a city surrounded by a bunch of fucking cornfields. So yeah, like you got gerrymandering. So even if you could have some more democratic representation, there's gerrymandering happening. And then you get challenges to that. I think, I can't remember if this was in Kansas or if I'm mixing it up with something else, but there have been challenges to the gerrymandering. And yeah, I actually do think that this was in Kansas. They were like, there were requests like, hey, can we rewrite these districts? Can we have an independent committee come in? Because it seems like this is all gerrymandered to fuck. And whoever decided like, yeah, no, we've decided that we're not going to revisit these redistricting. Congratulations. It's going to be 10 more years before we redo the districts. So it's like, okay, we're fucked in that way. Yeah, I can't handle the April Fool's trolling. Well, guess what? I'm not doing any of that. So, right. So obviously, like, I love Kansas. I miss it quite a bit. We're gonna go back actually for a wedding before too terribly long, in May actually. So coming up really soon, we're gonna drive back, and it'll be the first time I've been back. So I will have been here in Oregon for like a year and a quarter before returning to Kansas for the first time. Gonna road trip it. It's gonna be fun. I gotta get my car fixed and new tires and everything this month to make that trip. But yeah, and it's, yeah, like I said, it's sad. My love of Oregon is tinged with grief. Like, you know, I love it here. It's beautiful, and I miss home. And it might be a few years before that integrates and gets out of here. Hey, YouTube chatter, I also dislike April Fool's trolling. Now, I will say, if y'all watched Good Mythical Morning today, that was a good April Fool's. That was a very, very, very good April Fool's, and I was pleased to see it. So, that was good. Why is my phone going off? What are you doing? Okay, never mind. Excuse me. Is Wichita good? I'm from Kansas City, so I haven't really been to Wichita much, but it's another big city, so I wouldn't be terribly surprised if it was fairly blue, because that tends to be the case. Big cities tend to be blue. I haven't watched Good Mythical Morning since 2017. I haven't watched GMM in ages. It's good, I think. They're my internet dads. I didn't really realize how much I had invested in the idea of them being my internet dads. But then, like, it wasn't too long ago. Sometimes at the end of the Wheel of Mythicality, they're like, hey, we're going to donate to this organization. And a few months ago, they were like, join us in donating to, I can't remember what the org was, but it was something for trans equality. And I was like, my internet dads. So, yeah, that's fun. I might actually cry. I gotta chill. I'm gonna actually cry. I know this is a simplistic opinion, but it seems like the red states are getting redder because of all the gerrymandering. Well, yeah, so that's part of it. Gerrymandering is getting even more extreme, I believe. And also, people are leaving, right? And you can't fucking blame them. I left. And I'm sad about it, but I have no intention of going back. I want to hunker down. Like, I want to live here. This is where I want to be. I've wanted to be here basically my whole life. Like, as far as I can remember, I've been like, you know what sounds awesome is living in the Pacific Northwest. Because I love the rain. I love nature. I love green stuff. You know, we're not too far from the coast. Yeah. Wait, what? Jimmy and Jovan are hardcore MAGA bros right now? How? Wait, what are you saying? Matt Dillahunty is my internet dad. Yeah, I could see that. Drive back through Colorado. I haven't planned our trip yet. When it gets closer, I'll go ahead and like dial it in. But yeah, we're gonna. I would love to go through the Rockies because we kind of went around the Rockies before when we moved up here because we had a big fucking U-Haul and my car being towed behind it. And Oh, Jimmy and Javon are hardcore MAGA bros is April Fools. Okay, cool. Thank you. I am autistic and I will continue to forget that it's April Fools. So y'all just say silly shit and I won't know. But yeah, so before we drove all the way down into New Mexico and then up through Utah. So we kind of went all the way around the Rocky Mountain Range. So I would really like to go through it because I had like a grandparent who lived in Colorado and I love Colorado. So I'd like to drive through there, but we'll see. We might go through Wyoming instead. I don't know. Physics Girl is back as well. Yes, I saw Physics Girl is back-ish. Still like a video that she recorded from bed. But I'm glad that she's feeling better enough to start doing things again. I feel really bad for her. I think of her constantly. She is, you know, a huge example to me of what it's possible to lose from just one COVID infection. You know, she hasn't been able to work for years. She got married and then immediately her husband had to become her full-time caretaker. I don't even think he works. Like, they're completely supported off of her Patreon and whatever. You know, I think that some of her old content, she's got an editor who like has been continuously posting shorts content, clips from older Physics Girl videos. But yeah, so it's great to see that she's able to have, you know, she has enough energy to play video games. I mean, let me just explain to you. One COVID infection turned a professional physics science communicator into a person who literally does not have the energy to play video games. She's in bed all day. She can't even fucking play video games. Even looking out the window, in one video, she said even looking out the window was too much for her at one point because her brain just couldn't understand what was happening. It's fucking terrifying. That's one COVID infection. That's all it takes. So fucking stay strapped, y'all. Wear a mask. Jesus. There is already plenty of fools in the world. We don't need a whole day dedicated to them. That's fair. Where I'm at in Alabama, we have a good bit of queer spaces in the city. All queer bars are closed basically since lockdown, but yeah. Even in Alabama, you can find people. That's my life with MECFS. Yeah, MECFS is serious fucking shit. It's unclear whether long COVID, as bad as Physics Girl has it, is the same as MECFS. They have a lot of symptom overlap, but they might not be caused by the same thing. So yeah, but that's fucking rough. And my heart goes out to you guys. Thank you for using your very little energy to be here and hang out with us. Ooh! I don't remember how to pronounce his name. Pitzotl? Hello. Blue name in the chat. Ringing it in. Hello. My friend and their twin brother barely missed it. B-Day tomorrow, and also ran into a small YouTuber whose E-Day is tomorrow. What is E-Day? Oh, estrogen. Cool. I get vaccinated every couple months. Yeah, really, yeah, it's like every 6 months or so what would be the ideal timeline to get boosted with COVID vaccines, like every 6 months, because something about the immunity that you get to coronaviruses doesn't last as long as the immunity that you get from like an influenza, either virus or vaccine. So yeah, optimally, everybody would be getting COVID vaccine boosters twice a year. I just got over COVID for the 3rd time. I worry how many times I'll get it throughout my life. You know what makes it so that you don't get it? Wear a fucking N95. It's like, I don't worry about whether I'm going to get sick. I know that it's probably going to inevitably happen sometimes. I've gotten sick a couple times in the past few years, and it's usually been when I lower my precautions, or, you know, you have to go into a medical situation. Sometimes shit happens, and you don't have complete control over it because public health means nothing if the whole public isn't doing all of the things. So we've individualized public health in a way that is obviously harmful. But I don't worry about getting sick. I don't worry about my partner getting sick because we do everything in our power. We stay vaccinated. I use this little nasal spray, anything with iota carrageenan in it. So either betadine or Salinex Protect nasal spray. They are like helpful preventatives. If there becomes an available like nasal vaccine, I'll be in the fucking clinical trials for that bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I will be first on the uptake for that. My spouse and I both get vaccines at an accelerated rate because we're both immune compromised. I'm not going to say I'm jealous of your immune compromised situation, but I'm jealous that you are medically able to get multiple vaccines per year. Yeah, that's crazy. My mom works with kids, so everyone in our house gets sick all the time. Guess what your mom could do? Wear a fucking mask. Anyway. That's one of the things that bugs me, though. Like, if I have a kid, which I would like to, part of the reason why I want to have a kid is because I know that I would be able to have a COVID-free pregnancy. And we have no idea the impact. Like, I have a friend whose baby daughter was born with diabetes, and it's likely because the mom had COVID while she was pregnant. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But it's like, that's the part that's scary, is like, how do you raise a kid without them getting sick? Like, in my opinion, I'm going to like homeschool that kid probably and do everything I can to prevent that kid from getting COVID over and over again, because we, again, do not know what's going to happen. It hasn't even been 10 years. So we don't know what the 10-year recovery for COVID is. Anyway. My great-grandmother was actually born April 1st. She hated the idea of April Fools. Yeah, I do not blame her. I bet she got really fucking tired of that. I've had COVID 3 to 4 times, so I'm pretty much fucked. Not fucked. I've had COVID 3 to 4 times, or like somewhere between 2 and 4 times. I think definitely 3, like definitely 3 times. Only one of those had like positive COVID tests, but one time I thought it was just allergies, and then I saw a bunch of people talking about how like, oh, this wave of COVID, it was Eris, closely resembles allergy symptoms, and I was like, shit, yeah, I probably had COVID at that point. Excuse me, but what was I in the middle of reading? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. You're not fucked necessarily, because there are going to be, even with stuff that's as deadly as like polio is the one that would put you in the iron lung, right? Even with stuff like polio, many people had relatively mild illness and then they didn't have long-term health impacts. Many, many, many people. So it's like, you're not fucked. Especially, you're not fucked in the sense that like, oh, it's not worth it to try not to catch it again, right? I gotta get off my soapbox. I'm gonna lose viewers. I always lose viewers on this topic. I'm sorry. I'm a skeptic above all else. And the science says you don't want to fucking keep catching this thing. I'm literally immune to the COVID virus. How do you know that? 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 Immunity only lasts like 6 months with this virus, and there are such a thing as asymptomatic cases. Like, all of us who think we know how many times we've had COVID might be wrong, because you can have it and have no symptoms in the acute phase, or very mild symptoms in the acute phase, especially if you're vaccinated. That does not necessarily mean that you won't pass it on to other people, because actually the most COVID spread happens before you develop symptoms. And also, it doesn't mean that you won't get long COVID. Like, the vaccine can reduce your chances of getting long COVID, but it doesn't eliminate it. Earthling, I love how you don't know anything about this. Earthling is going to give me an opportunity. Listen, it's not the cold. Listen, it's not a cold. It's not a cold. It has a respiratory phase, but COVID lives in your body long term, and it causes damage to your heart and your veins, and it causes cancer, and it can damage your nerves. It causes brain damage. It causes sensory damage. It can cause widespread neurological pain. What the fuck else can it do? Also, it can kill babies. It causes stillbirths. It damages the blood vessels in the placenta, and it causes babies to develop diabetes, causes children to develop diabetes, causes brain problems in children, turns healthy children into bedbound children. COVID is not a cold. It's a neurodegenerative cardiovascular disease with a respiratory phase. Have you ever wondered what would life be like if cancer was contagious? Well, you don't have to wonder anymore because that's the world we live in. COVID causes cancer and it's contagious. Banana brains. True. Word of advice, never get into a debate on COVID with Lux. You will lose. I have the facts and I'm sorry. Listen, I want to be clear. I also regularly search for things that are like, hey, full COVID recovery. Because I want to know, listen, if there, or like, does COVID benefit the body? Is there any benefit to catching COVID? Like, does it improve your immunity in any way? Nope. Nope. It's all bad news. It's all bad news. It's literally been called airborne AIDS, ATP. Yes, it also damages the immune system. Hey, did you guys know, and maybe a lot of you here do know, HIV, when you catch HIV, you know, however you catch it, it doesn't matter whether it's through sexual contact or through blood problems, whatever, sharing needles, whatever. HIV doesn't cause AIDS until you've had HIV for like 10 years with no treatment. AIDS is acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which means you develop an immune problem. Like, and so usually when you have HIV and it's not treated for 10 years, you don't end up dying directly from HIV most of the time. It hurts your immune system in a way that makes you just more likely to get severely ill from other things, like a fungal infection or the common cold or the flu. So most of the time when you have AIDS and it's untreated, you die from some other thing because you're immune compromised at that point. You know, your immune system don't work right. And that's 10 years between the time that you contract HIV to the time that you have functionally no immune system and you have AIDS. Okay? COVID damages the same parts of the immune system, some of the same parts of the immune system that HIV does. COVID persists in the body. It damages your T cells. It causes lymphocytopenia, which is where you don't have as much lymphocytes in your body, which is part of your immune system that helps you fight off infections. And it has only been 7 years, or we're in the beginning of the 7th year, I should say, since the first people became impacted by COVID. So we have about 4 more years before we find out how that cumulative immune damage will. Oh, and also, by the way, HIV has only like 2 strains, maybe 3, versus COVID, which there's literally dozens, if not hundreds of different strains, and you can catch it multiple times. So you have multiple different strains of COVID living in you at that point, which are all causing cumulative immune damage. And here's the thing, y'all. We're already seeing immune deficiency in people. Like, listen, think back to your childhoods. I'm assuming that most of you here are like 30. I'm assuming you're my age. Maybe you're older. Maybe you're a little bit younger. Think back to when you were in elementary school, okay? Or through high school, you know? How often did people have to call out sick from work? Or how often did people show up to school sick? How often did people have to go home because they had a fever? Think about that. Now, I feel like I'm constantly hearing people coughing. Like, I'm trying to watch a stand-up special from fucking Josh Johnson on YouTube, and every single video has somebody coughing in the audience. I go to the gym and I hear people coughing, and you can tell it's lower respiratory. Like, they've got phlegm all the way down in here. It's not upper respiratory. It's deep down in there. They've got like a deep hacking cough, and they're just out in public, symptomatic, not doing anything to prevent any spread. So people are getting sick more often. It's not even anecdotal. You can also look at the stats. We're seeing a rise in fungal infections. Like, your body is having a harder time fighting things off. So we will find out just how bad the cumulative immune damage is from COVID in a few years, right? Also, if you don't know about this, like, when we're talking about virology or like any kind of illness, and we're talking, there's like markers of the survivability. And we talk about this with stuff like cancer as well. Like, what's the 5-year prognosis for someone who has been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, for example? Like Hank Green had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And what is the prognosis like for 5 years or 10 years or whatever? Like how likely is it that you'll die from this disease? And treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma is, very advanced at this point. It, as Hank said, when he first was diagnosed with cancer, he was like, this is the best time in the history of the planet to be diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma because the treatment is so effective, right? It's basically not deadly, right? So the 5-year survivability, the 10-year survivability, the 20-year survivability, we don't know what the 10-year survivability of COVID is because it hasn't even been 10 years. But we do know that it's increasing heart attacks in people aged 25 to 44. It's also increasing strokes for that age range. Like, we're seeing healthy athletes, and I'm also going to lump in like musical performers with this. Like, I just saw a post today, which I shouldn't have been on fucking Facebook. I just saw a post today that was like Megan Thee Stallion having to stop a performance midway through. I might be wrong about this. I just saw it on Facebook. Tell me if I'm wrong about this. But I saw that Megan Thee Stallion had to cancel a concert halfway through because she was feeling ill and like dizzy and stuff. So people with high athletic performance, because singing and belting out and running back and forth across the stage is an athletic performance. It's cardio. And athletes at the Olympics and at other major athletic events, we're seeing healthy people in their 20s unable to continue performing. It's not good. I know and love a lot of people who live with HIV. People are out there living full and complete lives. And remember that undetectable equals untransmittable. Yeah, to be clear, okay, I'm going to say something and it's going to be a little controversial, okay? I'm going to be completely clear that this is going to be controversial. A diagnosis of COVID nowadays is worse than a diagnosis of HIV. Do you know why? Because HIV is completely fucking treatable. It's completely treatable. Literally, you can get to a level with HIV where it is no longer showing up in your blood tests, which means it is not possible for you to pass it. Thank you, Cliff. It's not possible for you to pass it to anyone. You just have to take a daily medicine and you're totally fine. You're totally fine. We can cure HIV now. It's been cured a couple of times where people are no longer having to take that daily medication, but their numbers are still 0. And we do not have the treatments for COVID. We do not have the treatments for long COVID. We do not know the long-term impacts that this is going to have on people's bodies. So legitimately, I think that a diagnosis of HIV is less serious at this time than a diagnosis of COVID. We know so much more about HIV as a disease too. Fucking A, yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who does stunt work who got COVID once and said that there's a significant difference in his breathing now. Truly. Yeah. Anyway, holy shit. I'm sorry. I did not mean to go on a 40-minute fucking COVID rant. It's just like, I just feel like I'm shouting. I'm like Cassandra, like shouting into the void about this and watching as people I love and respect keep getting it over and over again. Like, it's hard. And I advocate like this so strongly on my platform because I don't feel empowered to be as emphatic as this when I'm just talking to people casually who I love. I just feel like I would ruin these relationships it's like, I imagine that this is what it feels like to be one of the insane kinds of Christian where you desperately, actually, truly, deeply believe that everyone you know and love is going to burn for hell in all eternity. And so there's a kind of desperation where you're like, how do I balance saving these people's eternal souls versus maintaining the relationship? And how do I love this person while thinking badly of like where they're going to end up for the rest of their eternities? I imagine that this must be kind of what that feels like. where I'm like, I want to help and I want to save people's lives, and not just save their lives, but save their quality of life. And it's not eternity, because you only have this one life. And that's the fucking thing too, is like, you don't get another chance. And we're going to have so much, there's going to be so many more people who can't work anymore, who need to apply for disability in a country where even before this, it was already incredibly difficult to get disability, to get the benefits. So yeah, I mean, the problem is just going to get worse. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for the future. Like, what are we going to do when every single air traffic controller has brain fog? What are we going to do? Dizzy says, it is exactly like that. I used to be that kind of Christian, and I'm now this. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I don't really empathize with religious people most of the time, but now I get it. I get it a little bit, I guess. Do you think it was dumb to keep pools open during the height of the COVID pandemic and let them take their masks off once they got in the pool water? I want to say that they should still wear in the pool. I know that there are differing opinions on the outdoor thing. Personally, for me, I still mask outdoors, even if it's not particularly crowded. Like, we went to the beach last year and I wore a mask the whole time because it can be potent enough. Like, if somebody has a high viral load, they're sick, or like they're about to get symptoms, but they have high viral load, and you walk past that person, there is a non-zero chance that you could just walk past someone on the sidewalk and get sick from them. So my personal opinion is, like, I prefer to still wear a mask outdoors, especially if it's going to be crowded. I am not super aware of a lot of, like, actually I have a tab open. It's been open for a while. I have a tab open for a type of respirator that could work in a swimming situation. Moldex M4620 N95 Airwave M Series Black Disposable Particulate Respirator. So there are like some options, but I understand that it's difficult. Like, getting a respirator wet doesn't always work super well. But if this seems like an option, I've kept the tab open because I want to make my younger sibling learn how to swim this summer. And yeah, like, so maybe some activities have to be restricted. Maybe you swim, but you can't dive underwater. Like, fucking, I don't know. The solution is to replace air traffic controllers with AI. True. Jesus Christ. I also saw that FD Signifier has been posted. Like, so I can't remember if there's some issue with FD Signifier. I feel like there's something in my brain where I'm like, he's had a problematic take or something in the past. But I saw that he's one of the only other leftist creators I've seen talking about COVID. And so I'm like, damn, well, like, regardless of what else has happened, and I can't even specifically remember anything. So, but FD Signifier talked about COVID. COVID never ended 3 weeks ago. 15-minute video. Like, shout out FD Signifier for being one of the only other leftists who gives a shit about this issue. The LGBTQ communities are also highly educated on the subject and have been doing incredible work to try to eliminate HIV. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the gay community have really pushed forward those things. And I've heard people say that, fuck, God damn it, my brain. God damn it. Oh, I've heard people say that taking PrEP or PEP could help with COVID as well. Like, there are enough similarities between HIV and COVID that you could, like, that taking the treatment for HIV can help you reduce your COVID incidence. I don't know that any studies have been done. It's just something I've heard. But it would be interesting to see, like, are gay people or trans people who are on PrEP, are they less likely to get severely ill from COVID? Like, I think we should study this. Our existing antivirals, could we reapply those or make little tweaks so that they're impactful for COVID as well? I don't know. I've been tested for COVID several times, and that includes blood tests, and both have always come back negative, and even my white blood cell count has never showed any past COVID infections. I'm really curious why you got such intense COVID testing when you apparently haven't had any symptoms. Like, why would you be getting intense blood tests to see if you have COVID if you have no symptoms? That's just interesting to me. Is swimming in a mask even safe? I don't know. I mean, if you're learning how to swim, then the kind of things that you're learning are like how to float and how to dog paddle and things like this. So I am not sure about like going underwater. So I don't know. Is there evidence of mitochondrial DNA damage? That's a good question. I know that mitochondrial dysfunction is suspected to be one of the primary primary mechanisms behind ME/CFS. And so we're trying to look into long COVID and try to understand what are the causal mechanisms behind the persistent fatigue and brain fog, especially. And I'm assuming that there is some amount of speculation that mitochondrial dysfunction could be part of it. But I'm not sure. Mitochondria damage COVID? Mitochondrial dysfunction in long COVID from the NIH. Long-lasting structural damage to mitochondria during the acute phase of COVID-19. SARS-CoV-2 can directly interact with mitochondria. So, yeah, I mean, it does seem like that might be part of the problem. And I don't think we have a specific treatment for mitochondrial dysfunction. Basically, when I was looking this up, I was like, oh, could maybe some of the fatigue that I'm having have to do with mitochondrial dysfunction? And it is basically like all the things that you should already be doing for your health is the only thing that we know of to treat mitochondria. I don't know if there are any medicines. Are there any medicines that treat mitochondria damage? Mitochondrial damage? Yeah. Some like vitamins and stuff and exercise and sleeping well, like, or trying to get enough sleep and like having a good diet. Like those are like the treatments for mitochondrial dysfunction. So yeah. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Always good to know what is going on with your body at all times. Destiny, that's not an answer to my question. Like, the question was, why did you get blood tests to show whether you have had COVID? So it's like, you live in America or somewhere else. Like, I'm listing some options here. If you live in America, you have private insurance. They don't want to pay for you to get random testing for no reason if you have no symptoms. So how did you get the test? Are you rich enough that you were able to just buy it? Well, you said that you're trans, so I doubt that you are like rich enough to just get any kind of testing that you want to get. Or you live in a country with a national healthcare system like Canada or the UK, in which case they are also not going to offer you intensive blood tests for no reason if you have no symptoms. So like, what do you mean? Like, how, what precipitated getting a blood test to figure out if you've ever had COVID? Like, if you're saying you took a nasal swab or a PCR, like, well, those could be, there are false negatives on the swabs all the time. So that, or like, maybe you don't start showing the spike protein, which is what the tests are testing for, until like you've been sick for several days. So like, I was sick in January this year, and I assumed it was strep throat because the primary symptom I had was just like a sore throat. and like I tested negative for COVID, but that might have been because I tested too early. So I don't know. Like I literally don't know if I had COVID in January. I definitely have felt like my brain has been a little bit stupid in February. And like, well, shit, I hope I didn't just get, I mean, I guess the best time to get COVID is literally 2 weeks after you got vaccinated, which is the case for me, but I remember in my small town that the local movie theater kept the movie theater open during the height of the COVID pandemic. To be clear, the height of the COVID pandemic is like now. Hold on, let me show you this. What you guys are like, oh, you know, remember back when the height of the COVID pandemic? But the problem is that we've had more spikes that are bigger than what you're thinking of since then. Every year, we have 4 major waves of COVID. We get one right after the holiday season. We get one in the early summer, another one in the fall, and I think maybe another one like in the middle of the winter. Because like you get sick at Thanksgiving, and so the spikes start to show in December, and then there's another spike in January, and then yeah, so it like when you think to yourself, oh, during the height of the COVID pandemic, I regret to inform you that like we are still in the height, like the heights are still coming, they keep coming and they won't stop coming. No studies have shown the theoretical link between PrEP and reduced COVID transmission. Okay, cool. Yeah. I know we're still going to need to do more study on this. I'm just, you know, we have antiviral medication and we should be exploring that as an avenue for sure. Byron says, I've also had it only once that I know of, but if you've legitimately never caught it, that makes you lucky, not immune. Fucking true. True. Byron also says, is this chatter conflating? I've never noticeably had COVID with I'm immune to COVID because there are antibody tests for that. If you are, quote, immune, that typically means your body's immune system is efficient at deploying antibodies upon infection to the point you don't even show symptoms, not that you can't be infected to begin with. I think that basically what chatter is suggesting is that, yeah, I think she's saying that she never has had antibodies show up on a test. So she's never had it at all, period. Which, if that is the case, then that's just luck. I've been advised to avoid vaccines due to my autoimmune. That is true sometimes. If you are feeling uncomfortable with that medical advice, I recommend seeking a second opinion. But it is, like, it can be a problem. People with autoimmune diseases, or I don't know if autoimmune... I mean, you're weighing risks, right? The autoimmune triggers from a vaccine could be damaging, but also it kind of seems at this point like long COVID might be a type of autoimmune disease where you have inflammation or like reactions to your own body. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so there are people, regardless, who can't get vaccines, right? Or who can't wear a mask, right? Alice Wong, she passed away. She wasn't able to wear a mask, I think because she had some kind of medical thing happening with her face, like she had tubes or something, so she couldn't wear a mask. But so there are people who can't wear a mask. There are people who can't get vaccinated. And that's why this is a public health issue, where as many people as possible need to be taking the precautions because there are some people who physically can't, and they deserve to live in society. It can't be just like, oh, well, it's your responsibility. If you have to protect yourself, and if you get sick, then that's your problem. Or like, well, if you're so worried about getting sick, why don't you just stay home? It's like, because disabled people like deserve to live lives outside their house. Destiny, you're not, I asked you like a direct question because I'm curious about your experience and you just haven't answered it. So it doesn't make you look like you're engaging this conversation very seriously. Although I know it's kind of weird having a differing opinion from the streamer that you're watching who's like arguing with you from chat. Like, I understand that that's a kind of weird dynamic and everything, but I'm asking you, what symptoms did you have that caused you to get that testing? Or like, was it just scientific curiosity and you could afford to get intensive antibody blood tests or like white blood cell count tests? I also don't think your white blood cell count can show you whether you've had COVID before. Please correct me. If somebody, like, my understanding is like white blood cell count is more reflective of whether you have like a bacterial infection. I don't know everything, but so I'm just asking you, what were the circumstances that caused you to get this intensive testing? And you're saying you had tests multiple times. And did your insurance pay for it? Did you pay for it? Like, I want to know the circumstances behind it. And you're like dodging the question in a way that makes me, okay, absolutely no symptoms at all. Then what was the justification for the testing? Again, did you pay for it out of pocket because you were just curious? Did your insurance cover it? Did the NHS say that it was necessary? Like, I don't understand why you got the tests. Scooby asks about forcible vaccination. If you say yes, do you honestly think that'll be the last thing that'll be forced on you? Scooby, are you from America, Scooby? Did you go to public school in America? Because I went to public school in America. And in order to go to public school, there were requirements for vaccines. And if you are a nurse, okay, my insurance pays, but insurance doesn't just pay for bullshit for no reason. Insurance, like, listen, I have insurance. It's the first time I've really meaningfully had insurance in my life. And like, I have a friend who has the same insurance as me. And I got a 14-day heart monitor and an echocardiogram of my heart because I am having symptoms. But my friend who has a family history of heart issues, who's currently having no symptoms, was denied further testing and was denied a referral to cardiology because he doesn't have any symptoms. So insurance doesn't want to just pay for testing willy-nilly. So if you had no symptoms and your insurance paid for it, why? What was the circumstances around the testing? And are you like, you're like, insurance paid hundreds of dollars for you to get tests just because you felt like getting the tests? Like, this is why I'm frustrated. Jesus Christ. I'm from Leeds. Okay, so I don't know how it is in the UK, but in America, there are requirements for public school. You have to have, like, I'm pretty sure you have to have your MMR. I'm pretty sure you have to have chickenpox vaccine, or at least you have to have a previous case of chickenpox. So when you're like, well, they're going to force vaccines on you. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I live in a society where we've already decided that public health supersedes your individual bodily autonomy rights in some situations. So, you know, like, public health doesn't exist unless we have more people participating, you know? Like, it's you are infringing on other people's freedoms if you send your kid who actively has measles to the public school situation, right? Because there are going to be kids in the public school who have a medical exemption for why they can't have the vaccine, right? Like, there are immune compromised kids who can't do the vaccine. You're infringing on other people's freedoms and by putting their lives at risk. So this is a situation where sometimes you have to trade off bodily autonomy for public health. So, and also because scientifically there are not really strong reasons to not get your kid vaccinated. So if you're like, I just decided that I don't want to get vaccinated because, then it's like, okay, well, then your kid doesn't get to go to public school. Okay. And like, also, there are going to be other situations like that kid can't have a job as a, like, if that kid gets older and they still don't have vaccines, you can't have a job where you're a carer, where you can't have a job where you're working with old people. You can't have a job where you're working with immune compromised people. You can't have a job where you're frontline face to face with patients as a nurse, for example. So yeah, I mean, like, it's just, no shade, Scooby, but it's just like a really fucking dumb argument to be like, well, my bodily autonomy supersedes the rights of everyone around me to not catch deadly fucking illnesses. Like, I'm sorry. And like, I'm pretty sure that it is at least somewhat of a requirement. It's at least somewhat of a requirement in the UK. Because otherwise there wouldn't have been that whole row over whether you should get your MMR jabs. Like, you guys started the anti-vax stuff over there with fucking Andrew Wakefield, Like, that's kind of where that kicked off was. And to be clear, the entire reason why Andrew Wakefield didn't support the MMR vaccine was because he personally was selling individual measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines. So he was like, oh, you shouldn't get the combined MMR, but it's okay to get them individually done. Oh, and space it out over a period of time, even though there's no scientific evidence that it's necessary to space them out over a period of time. Like, anyway. I just cut the knuckles of my thumb and I'm full up on tetanus shots. Yeah, I think I probably need to get a tetanus booster. I can't remember. I need to get my vaccine records from Kansas and probably get a tetanus booster. I mean, I don't think it'll hurt anything if it's been less than 10 years since my last tetanus booster. Like, I don't think it's going to harm me to get another one. So maybe I'll ask. I also am pretty sure I only got like one hepatitis B vaccine. Like, I was supposed to go back and my parents were fucking irresponsible and didn't take me back. Like, I don't know. Really? You can't be a trucker without certain vaccines? I didn't know that. The vaccine mandate was the reason why the trucker protest happened in Canada. Oh, wow. Chaos Gremlin makes a great point. People being harmed by the folks who are unvaccinated means that being unvaccinated means you are actively harming other people. Yeah. It's like you can exercise your personal freedoms, but not to the point where they're harming others. Like, you can shake your fists as much as you want to, but that has to stop where my face begins. And unfortunately, COVID is airborne. It's not droplets, it's an aerosol. Have you ever seen someone, and I've said this many times, have you ever seen someone rip a fat vape? They're like, and then they breathe it out, and all that vape, the bubblegum flavored vape just kind of hangs in the air unless like a breeze rolls by. That is what COVID does. It hangs in the air, sometimes for hours. So even if you're like, oh, well, I'm in this, I'll take my mask off in the exam room while I'm talking to the doctor. Well, there could be COVID in there from the last person who was in that exam room. Bunch of Typhoid Marys are where we had that massive COVID shutdown. Yeah. We know the story of Typhoid Mary. She was like, I'm going to run around. And wasn't she involuntarily committed, or not committed, but basically like involuntarily detained because she wanted to keep going everywhere, but she was like actively spreading typhoid fever. I don't know what it's called. A sick or carrier trucker would harm so many people. Yeah, they're like crossing state lines and they're interacting with all kinds. Oh shit, I don't have water right now. Yeah, I need to clean my water bottle. Soda for me right now. Listen, I stay strapped. I can throw down about COVID any fucking day of the week. I know more potentially about COVID than I know about being trans. I say that as a joke, kind of, but when you're talking about evolution, for example, evolution has more evidence for it than gravity. Like, the theory of evolution has more evidence to support it than the theory of gravity. And that's because the theory of evolution can draw from multiple different areas of scientific study. Like with gravity, you know, we have like physics and astrophysics. Like we can correct me if I'm wrong, Byron, about this, because I know you're into the physics. By the way, I'm very much looking forward to having a community of people I can tap for help with my calculus when I probably eventually start that. I need to hammer out some things and like really get into the nitty gritty with my partner of like, what are your reasons why I shouldn't do this? Because I want to make sure I'm making like a clear and good decision if I'm going to pursue a whole fucking career in electrical engineering. But anyway, so for the theory of gravity, and that feels crazy, right? That we have more evidence for evolution than we do for gravity because we experience gravity all the time. You drop something, it falls. You fall, you hurt yourself, right? But like with evolution, we have, you know, you can look at the genome, you can look at fossil records. Excuse me, you can look at excuse me, oh my god. Those are the only two that are coming up. But it was like you can look at the DNA, you can look at phenotypes to a limited extent, the fossil record, like there are so many different angles that you can support the theory of evolution from. And so I'm kind of jokingly comparing that to like, I know a lot about being trans. Trans is supported by, you know, all of the scientific data we have on the topic. It's historically supported, anthropologically supported. Yep, I said that correctly. We can look at being trans from a number of different angles. And like, I just think it's funny to be like, I know I have a stronger argument about COVID than I do. I have a stronger anti-COVID argument than I do a pro-trans argument, just because I have so many different things about how fucked up COVID is. It's like, listen, what's the scariest medical event in your mind? Because COVID probably causes it or impacts it in some way, makes it worse in some way. Soul Echo says, I loved calculus. I got better at it the harder it got. Fuck yeah. Trans is supported by viewers like you. Parentheses, give Lux money. Yes, thank you, Cliff. Earlier, sorry, I was in the middle of a rant and I didn't add that. So we have $5 that have been donated so far, or maybe like 12. I'm just going to make an assumption that it's 12 because I bet you got a 3-month sub. So thanks, Cliff. I also don't have a specific goal. I mean, the goal is $100 typically when I stream. That's the goal. Let's get to $100 in donations. No worries if not. But either do you want me to flex my biceps, or do you want me to go get my kitty and torture my kitty? I guess potentially also today we could, I could go pick up the chunks that I have completed of the Barad-dûr Lego set. Do you want to see my Sauron minifig? That's an option. It's on the table. I might even do that before. I might even do that before we hit the goal, or regardless of if you hit the goal. Close that. Bye-bye. Come back, Chad. I miss you. There you are. Typhoid Mary kept working in kitchens, so they had no choice but to lock her up. Yeah, what did someone else say? She thought she assumed that she was immune, but then she was just like, she was actually just constantly spreading it. Like, yeah. I wish they had kept purifiers in offices and waiting rooms. Truly, we really need to update our entire infrastructure. Like, there are hospitals who have implemented UV filtration for their air, and there's no COVID in the air in the whole hospital, even if there are COVID infected patients. So yeah, that's another big thing. We need good ventilation. We need good air purification and filtration. We have options. We could do this. We're cat or flex. It's been a while since we've seen the biceps. That's true. You know what's crazy is I don't even work out my arms. I kind of can't right now. I'm doing a regimen with my workouts that's like almost entirely focused on the lower body, but I just have naturally beefy arms, which is cool because it means when I can start working my upper body, I'm expecting to get like a pretty easy time bulking. Yeah, the first thing I want to do is work on my shoulders and start rounding out my shoulders. And I've actually already been working on it a little bit because I realized that I hold my shoulders with my traps, like all of the holding my arms I do in my traps, and I'm trying to like make a point to use the actual muscles in my shoulders instead of my traps. So I'm already kind of working on it. Lots of votes for cat. Okay, we are voting for cat. Well, we have to get to the donation goal if you want to see either my biceps or my cat. So, Sauron the cat. True! I'm actually just going to show off the Sauron anyway. I'm just going to get it and show it to you because it's small and it's easy to show it to you. I'll be right back. I actually decided that I was going to show off, like, most of the minifigs that I got. Because I got other minifigs. But these are the ones that I think are the coolest. So, what should we start with? Let's start with Frodo. Here's Frodo. Look at him, he's tiny. He's got little hobbit legs. His hobbit legs don't bend. They're short. Look at them. They're so short. He's fucking cute. He's got his little curly hair. His facial expression. I don't know if you can see. Hold on. You can't really see it super well, but his facial expression is like really concerned and frazzled and worried. And he's got a little one ring. Or no, it's this side. He's got a little one ring. Isn't that fucking cute? It fits over his hand, but it's and then I got a couple extra of those. We've got Samwise, who also has tiny little short legs, and he's holding this bottle, like it's the light of Elendil that Galadriel gave them, that he uses when he's fighting off Shelob, and he's got a tiny little sting. Tiny little sting. It doesn't have, like, Elvish script on it the way that I was kind of hoping for it to, or, like, the engraving or whatever, but it does. It's clearly Sting. Clearly. Isn't that fucking cute? Crazy. That's so adorable. Look at his little jacket. He's so cute. Now we're getting into the more unhinged, okay? Because there's also a Gollum. Look at him. He's a little freak. Look at this little freak. And he's got like little wispy hair painted on the top of his head. Fucking cute. Ring not real. We can see Frodo. I know. Cringe. He's got his little loincloth painted on him. So that's Gollum. Gollum. God damn it. I keep saying Golem. I don't know why. Here's one of my orcs. I had a bunch of these, actually. I'm not even done. Ooh, there's also the mouth of Sauron, but I haven't gotten to that point in the building it's set. I haven't gotten to him yet. I really want to see him. He's gonna look fucking cool. But there's cool helmets and like this special little orc sword. I got a bunch of these little orc swords. In this Lego set, oh, I don't have the shield. They created several new pieces just for this Lego set. They got the so these helmets, there's 4 different types of orc helmets that are all brand new for this set. This is just one of them. The shields that we got in this set are brand new for this set. And Sauron's helmet is also brand new for this set. So check him out. Look at him. Look at him. He's fucking cool. His head is like, hold up. He's got like this fire face situation going on. Got his little cape. And so this is the helmet. It's like a soft plastic. It's a little flexible. And it's like his spalders and his helmet together. So spalders and helmet. That's him. He's fucking cute. And also check this out. You guys remember one of the coolest things about Sauron was his giant fucking mace. Look at it. It's so cool. There's also a Palantir in the set. So it's basically like the Lego head shape, but on one side it has painted the white tree of Gondor on fire, and then on the opposite side it shows the Shire on fire. So anyway, I want to see Sauron's mouth. Sauron actually doesn't have a mouth in this situation, so I don't know if you can really see. He's got the eyes and like some fire around the face, but his mouth is actually completely blank. So he doesn't even have him. Oh, you sorry, you meant the mouth of Sauron, like the character. I fucking goofed for a second there. I want to see him too. I want to see his creepy little teeth. I want to see. I was like, his creepy little teeth. I want to see him. But yeah, I don't have him yet today. The set has been very cool to build. It has, it's in 3 parts. So like the bottom level is 1 book, and the second level is 1 book, and then the entire rest of the spire is 1 book. So I finished the first 2 parts, and I've started working on the 3rd part. I did not spend my time responsibly this weekend. That's pretty much like all we did all weekend was do Lego. But anyway, so that's, yeah. It didn't say in the book that Gollum is new for this, but I have never seen any Lego minifig that looks like this before. So I want to say that that's like an original thing, but... And this is Gollum, not Smeagol. I don't know if you can see. He's got a creepy little fucking toothy grin going on. Yeah. That mace is bigger than he is. No kidding. I want to see the cat flex its muscles. Well, I did learn today that she has wonderful musculature all the way down her tail. We were kind of worried that maybe her tail had gotten smashed before we got her, and so I had the vet look at it, and she's got fine musculature all the way down her tail. My little Sauron, oh, he's so precious. The Dark Lord, so precious. Okay, anyway. I want to see Liv Tyler with pointy ears. Yeah, I don't think I have any elves in this set, because it's at Mordor. You can't see it because it's back here, but it's the Tower of Mordor with the Eye of Sauron at the top of it. So I don't think there are any elves in this set, because there wouldn't have been any elves in Mordor. Lego Weekend is a great weekend, truly. There's also an amazing store, in Canby, Oregon, that has it's called Bricks and Minifigs, where you go in and there's like huge rummage piles where you can rummage through Lego and you can build your own little minifigs. They sell a ton of different sets, including sets that have been discontinued. They sell used sets, so it's like, oh, this set might be missing a couple pieces, or it might have a couple of replacement pieces or anything. It's so fucking cool. It's so cool. And we went there this weekend. We were like, oh, you know what? Let's go check it out. Let's go look. Because that's where my partner got the Lego set from. So yeah, that was fucking cool. Highly recommend if you live anywhere in the Willamette Valley, go to the Bricks and Minifigs store in Canby. It's so cool. Gondor protesters, true. Okay, Viren is adding on to what I said about gravity earlier. Okay, so he says, why did I say she? That's fucking crazy. We don't have a complete theory of gravity, which means we don't have a comprehensive explanation of how the universe functions, and we want to understand gravity analytically with math. Our math with gravity is good. However, I would say our understanding of how evolution works is more obvious and intuitive. And I want to emphasize our understanding of gravity successfully predicts some wild stuff. Plenty of strong evidence that general relativity and Newtonian gravity work extremely well. Cool. That's cool information. Yep. Nicole had a hockey tournament this weekend. We lost every game, but I scored a goal. Fuck yeah. Congrats. Nerd pride. Listen, yeah. Also, I had like a nerd cred moment at the store, because my partner had mentioned like, oh yeah, the guy who checked me out at the register had a bunch of minifigs attached to his lapel, attached to his what's it called? Name tag. And like there were a couple of different, they do custom minifigs there, so they like make minifigs that don't actually exist. Like I don't think that there actually are any invincible minifigs, but they made some custom. So he had a couple of different invincibles on his lapel, and an Omni-Man, and a Thrag. And my partner told me about, he was like, oh yeah, he had like a Thrag on there, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude, Thrag is fucking amazing. Um, and so yeah, we were checking out. We got a couple of small things while we were there, and I felt like I had a nerd cred moment. I present femme in public, like I'm wearing my mask, but my boobies are there, and I'm with my husband who doesn't look gay at all. So basically, like we look like a heterosexual couple, and I said to the guy, I was like, "Oh yeah, I heard all about your Thrag minifig. That's really cool." And he was talking about it a little bit, and he was like, "Oh, are you guys caught up on the new show?" And I was like, "Yeah, but they're doing stuff now that I'm finding myself doing that comic purism thing where it's like, oh, they're doing something different from the comics, like they're doing this new thing." Because if you don't know, with Invincible, Damian Darkblood, who's like the demon detective, he kind of disappeared from the comic forever. There's no more. Is just not there. He gets like banished back to hell, and then there's never again a Damian Darkblood in the comic. So they're expanding on that in the show right now. They're doing, my understanding is it's basically a storyline that Robert Kirkland didn't do back then, but he's like, I could have explored this more, and so they're exploring it more. So the most recent episode of Invincible was completely focused on Damian Darkblood, and I was basically like, I don't know what I feel about this. I'm gonna watch it again and probably try to get a more rounded opinion, because I was like, dude, is this whole fucking episode just gonna be Damian Darkblood shit? So I was telling the Lego guy, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of like, meh. And he was like, yeah, but it's cool. Like, I was like, Bruce Campbell. And I was like, yeah, Bruce Campbell. Makes me want to go back and rewatch Army of Darkness. So we just had this conversation where I was fully engaged on a really deeply nerdy topic. I'm fucking walking around the Lego store looking at how cool everything is. And I'm like having like a high level nerd conversation with this guy. And I was thinking about it afterwards. And I was like, I hope that wasn't an existential dread moment for him. That like someone who he would perceive as a girl is like able to throw down about some hardcore nerdy shit and is like buying Lego and like, he asked, like, he was like, oh yeah, I remember when you came in and bought the Baradur set earlier this week. Like, have you already gotten into it? And I was like, yeah, I'm already building it. So I just thought it was really funny that like I can really hold my own talking about nerd shit. And it's not just like my partner got me into it. That's true to some degree. But we started watching Invincible together. And then we both really wanted to read the comics. And so we bought them. And then I read them voraciously. And I still need to finish. My partner also got me like the Adam Eve compendium for the like extra side story stuff. And I need to read that soon. But yeah, I was like, I really hope that this guy isn't suffering on the inside. Like, why couldn't I get a cool nerd girlfriend like this guy has? Yeah, I don't know. It just amuses me. I didn't know custom minifigs were a thing, truly. Dude, I would pay so much fucking money for a Battle Beast minifig. I would legitimately spend so much money because I love Battle Beast. And I don't even know why. Why do I love Battle Beast so much? I don't know. He's gone in the story right now, and I'm like, I can't wait for Battle Beast to come back. I might want to read the comics again. I still need to catch up on the Amazon series. Yeah, listen. I know some people are kind of complaining about how the animation style has, the budget for the show Invincible has gone down over time instead of up with such a successful series. So people are like, well, there's kind of jank in the animation now. I'm able to mostly like ignore those things. But now we're dealing with, okay, they're making changes, but I find it easier to tolerate changes in an adaptation, especially if I know that the original creator is intimately involved in the creation of the story. And Robert Kirkland is like one of the two co-creators of Invincible, the TV show. So I'm like, okay, you're doing all this fucking Damian Darkblood shit, and I don't really care, and I'm kind of annoyed about it. Because I'm like, let's get back to the story that I'm familiar with, and I want to see how you're going to move forward with that and how you're going to deal with these reveals and, all this bullshit. And so I'm just trying to not be too annoyed, because maybe he really intended to flesh out Damian Darkblood, but he wasn't able to because of deadlines or something, whatever. So the original creator is making a choice to expand the Damian Darkblood shit. I'm just trying not to complain too much. It is like the lowest rated episode of Invincible, but that said, it still has like a 7.9. So being the worst episode of Invincible at still a 7.9 is pretty fucking good. I'm gonna need a root beer next. Gonna grab a root beer next. I understand that if general audiences know any Slayer song, it will be Raining Blood, but not gonna lie, I'd have gone with Hell Awaits or something like that instead. I only recognized one song in the episode, and it was Metallica. I was like, oh shit. I was like, wait, I've heard this guitar lick before. And I was like, wait, I've heard that before. And I was like, oh shit, that's Metallica. So yeah. I liked that. I think that Doom is such a genre-defining piece of art. Like the original soundtrack and the remastered soundtrack for Doom 2016, etc., that Hell is associated with heavy metal. I guess that's maybe not because of Doom. Like, obviously, heavy metal in some ways, like Tenacious D, blah, blah, blah. There's always been this kind of like the devil or satanic kind of undertones with it, maybe in kind of a tongue-in-cheek sort of way. But I really like that, you know, this episode is all focused on events happening in Hell and what is Hell, what is the underworld, like all these demons and stuff, and that the soundtrack is completely metal. That's Slayer? I thought that was fucking Metallica. I didn't even know that I've ever heard a Slayer song before, if I'm being completely honest with you. So that's Slayer? Cool. Sorry. I don't listen to heavy metal. I know some heavy metal because my mom listened to it, but it's never really been my thing. My mom probably has to this day, a tramp stamp tattoo of her name in the style of the Metallica with like the, you know, the like things going down on the sides and like the whatever. So yeah, I'm just not really into heavy metal. That's my bad. Check out Hero Forge. Lots of options for custom miniatures. That's true. Damien Darkblood did feel like a loose thread that got hastily snipped in the comics. Yeah, he was kind of a joke character in the comics, right? Because he comes to Cecil and he's like, I have evidence that it's probably Omni-Man who did this bad thing. But it's like well after the point at which it's been publicly revealed that it was Omni-Man in the comic. So it's like kind of a joke character. So it's interesting to see them fleshing that out and giving him a little bit more. The song you want is At Doomsgate. I remember when Doom came out. That was a life-changing game for sure. Absolutely. Listen, I will listen to E1M1 any day of the week. That's the one that I'm thinking of, right? Like the very first song on the Doom soundtrack. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get copyright. But that's right. E1M1. Yeah, bro. Like, listen, it's so fucking good. I love it so much. I don't even like heavy metal. I guess what I'm learning is I like heavy metal instrumentals. I just don't care about the lyrics. Yes. We're at the point in the stream where viewership is starting to dip because I'm just talking about dumb shit that I like. Have you ever heard of Starlit Riot? Their music has gotten heavier as the years go on instead of lighter like normal, and their music has really good messaging in the lyrics. Nope, never heard of them. Don't listen to metal, but thank you. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath is all about a guy meeting a demon while Tony Lamy plays the tritone Devil's Interval the whole time. Fuck yes. I am deeply amused by those things. Okay, I'm just going to run and grab myself another soda. Be right back. I told you I was going to run. Now I'm back. Scarlet Riot, not Starlit Riot. Okay. Yeah. I'm not, like, listen, I'm not even really a music person. Recently, my partner and I were doing an exercise for therapy that was, like, trying to establish how well we know each other. And one of them was like, what music does your partner like? And I was like, what music do I like, Deegan? I think it's very funny because I don't really like music most of the time. So I'm like, see if you can choose like one of the couple things I actually do enjoy listening to. Soda. Me and my mom listen to Baby Metal in the car, even though she says she hates metal. That's very funny. Hey, we've got 50 viewers and 100 likes. I love it when that happens. Thank you, everybody, for hitting the like button. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. And like, listen, even when the money is not flowing, I love it when the likes are coming in. You know? Number go up makes your brain feel good. Number go up and you're like, ooh, that's good. I like that. There's plenty of instrumental metal. I prefer it quite often compared to some of the trash vocals out there. I'm like considering if I ever need to like sit down and focus, can I just put on the Doom soundtrack and just kind of enjoy that? Because I'm sure that there's a lot of those songs that I haven't heard. So anyway, is my hair all hiding behind my microphone? Hiding hair behind my microphone. What are we doing? What are we doing today? I'm trying some new stuff with my hair. And it's maintaining a lot of volume today, so that's cool. God damn it. Nathan, how dare you be late again? I know. I start really early. I know I stream at like a weird time, but I started stream at 4 p.m. Central Time when I lived in Central Time because I didn't want to stream way late into the night and because I have a lot of fans who are in Europe. So I know I start streaming at it's 2 o'clock Pacific time, which means lots of people are still at work. So I apologize if my streaming at that time means that y'all can't be here because y'all are working. I have also just put on the Doom soundtrack to do work. Yeah, for sure. Quake is also worth it with their soundtrack. That was completely composed by Trent Reznor. Hell yeah. Nice. I have seen Nine Inch Nails in concert. I don't know if that's a surprise. I mean, of course, it's my mom. My mom was heavy into going to concerts when I was a kid, so I've seen. My very first concert was Creed. Interestingly, I don't actually know that my mom was like very religious, but Creed was my first concert that I ever went to. I think I've seen Metallica in concert. We've gone to several like festival ones where like, oh, 311 is playing and a bunch of other bands. And I've seen Nine Inch Nails in concert. I haven't been to very many concerts in my adulthood. I went to see I Fight Dragons. That was my choice to go see I Fight Dragons, and it was back during the part of the pandemic where people were still wearing masks. Have you heard of Lindsey Sterling? She plays violin. Yeah, but she's a Mormon, and that's fucking weird. She's really talented, but like I have a difficult time supporting Mormons financially, so I don't really listen to any of her shit. I am aware of her, and I've heard her music before, but I'm not like keeping up to date with it. To be fair, I was cuddle napping with my pupper. Listen, an understandable reason to be late. Part of the reason why I was late getting the link up today was that Miss Mina decided that she wanted to play. And I'm trying to be really nice to her because I took her to the vet this morning. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I normally mute game soundtracks, but the one that I must have on because the soundtrack itself gives you a little bit of warning of imminent danger is in Alien Isolation. I am not brave enough to play the game without the music. Yeah, the jump scares have to be so real when you're trying to do it without the music. Yeah, I know I'm in Pacific time. What I'm saying is I stream during early in the day in Pacific time because this works for me. I get off of this and my partner has just recently got home and then we can just enjoy our evening together, or now we do therapy on Wednesdays. But I understand that it's the work day and like that's part of why I stream during the day, because then it's the work day and then I can fuck around in the evening. But excuse me. Yeah, anyway. I just recognize that I'm kneecapping myself to an extent on that. Andrew Hulshult even recorded the whole Doom soundtrack with real instruments if you're into that, but he doesn't play the tritone in At Doom's Gate, which is like a hyperfixation I have when judging covers of it. For instrumental metal on the sludgy, doomier side, the OSTs to the games Slain, Valfaris, and Valfaris Mechatherian are all composed and played by a metal guitarist. That's fucking cool. Yeah, I'm just not into music, which is so interesting because I say that I'm not into music, but it's kind of because it's impossible for me to do anything else. My partner and I were building Lego, and my partner decided to put on music, and I can't fucking think when there's music, especially music with lyrics, especially if it's music that I know the lyrics. I kept making mistakes in my Lego. I genuinely just can't fucking think normally. If it's lo-fi or instrumental or background or whatever, that can be okay. But yeah, if you're like playing music that I know the lyrics to, I legitimately can't fucking think. I was like, we need to turn this off because I keep making mistakes and having to backtrack and fix things while I'm building my Lego. And I can feel the vastness of everything that there is to know with music theory. I can feel that I will tumble into a void where I just kind of do that all the time. So I feel like I need to keep a little bit of a distance with that, although I am about to start learning music theory for my guitar because I want to actually know the notes and be able to play in different keys and things. I kind of would like to be able to play my guitar in a way that I'd never ever have to use a capo, but that I could still play in a different key higher up on the fretboard. So I am about to delve into that. But yeah, music is like all consuming in a way that I cannot handle. I log in and the first thing I hear is I'm not into music, which sounds like heresy. Listen, you heard me explain why just now. So, but I am deeply interested in music. Like, I just don't like to listen to it most of the time. I have to be doing something like cooking or dishes or something. Like, I can't function intellectually at the same time as listening to music. But I'm deeply interested in stuff like Sinners, which is, it's a movie. It's my film hyperfixation that I get into. But I'm interested in the music, and I have listened to Will You Go, Lassie Go so many times recently. I'll get a hyperfixation on one song sometimes, but yeah, it's like I'm interested in it. I just can't fucking listen to it if I'm trying to do basically anything that requires my brain. I listened to a particular album a ton while writing my dissertation. Different people have different sensory experiences. It's not non-music listeners' fault. They're heathens after all. Listen. Yeah, I know. I actually just threw away. I was looking through my buttons and other little random bullshit like that, like the kind of buttons that you pin on your shirt. And I had one of those Hot Topic black and white music equals life buttons, and I finally threw it in the trash because I'm never going to wear it. And I definitely felt that way when I was a teenager, but I don't feel that way now. I'll drive a lot without the radio on. Sometimes I just can't do the added noise. Driving is hard enough to do without additional distractions. Both of my speakers are out in my car, so I can't listen to music unless I bring a Bluetooth speaker, which that was the other thing I did this weekend. I actually bought it for myself. It wasn't a birthday present from my partner, but I'm interested in like electrical technology, and I would like to learn some stuff about control circuits, even though I don't really want to work with control circuits, but I think it would be really important for me to learn it. So my partner and I were talking about I should learn how to do electrical soldering. So I bought myself a little Bluetooth speaker kit that's got instructions, and it teaches you how to solder and which parts to solder together. So I made a fully functional Bluetooth speaker. I do feel like if your Bluetooth speaker needs to be plugged into something to have power, it sort of defeats the purpose of it being a Bluetooth speaker, in my opinion, because Bluetooth kind of necessarily implies that it's going to be wireless. But I could add a battery pack to it and like put a power step down converter into it so that it outputs the correct 5 volts. But so that's another thing I learned how to do this weekend. Well, it's not another thing I learned. It's just another thing I did this weekend. But yeah, I learned how to do electrical soldering, which is not hard. And I understood a lot of the principles behind it already anyway, because I did jewelry class when I was in high school, which required soldering pieces of metal together. Like you solder like a ring onto a plate, and now you can put a stone in it and like bezel the stone into the thing. Yeah. But I learned how to solder electrical, which is fun. And my partner was like, okay, so before you start on your soldering kit, I'll have you practice on this Arduino or Raspberry Pi, whatever, like one of the brain of it's like a whole computer, but it's like this big, and if that's the whole brain of the computer. So I have one of those, a little Arduino thing with a fucking mini USB output, which is crazy. I might have to desolder that and put on a new one, which is cool too, because my car, the fucking, you'll be making your doomsday laser in no time, truly. But my car has a cruise control that's not working, and I Googled it a little bit, and it was like, oh, so there's several different solutions to this particular problem, like the very specific problem that I'm having. And one of the solutions is you just need to replace a resistor. And I was like, guess what I just learned how to do? I know how to desolder, because I did fuck up. I bridged something that I was soldering. So I learned how to use solder wick, where you like wick the solder away onto like a copper mesh kind of deal. So I learned how to do that. So I can desolder. I'm a mechanic. I can fix your car. It's not mechanics though. It's an electrical problem. So I know that there are different types of how do you work on cars. Sometimes, there's the mechanical aspect, the engine aspect, fixing things physical like that. And then there's like the more electrical components, like the relays and the fuse box and sort of the electrical. And then there's a whole separate area about the computer, like the computer aspect of the car. So going to a mechanic, your mechanic can't necessarily fix the latching circuit on your cruise control. But I definitely want to fix that this month, because I'm fucking driving 5,000 miles round trip to go to Kansas. So I'm gonna need to fix that. You got me looking at Lego sets, and I have to say that Minecraft Legos seems like a hat on a hat. True. I agree. I kind of don't understand the point of it's for children. That's the point of Minecraft Lego sets, is because children want them. So, but I wouldn't personally go there. Raspberry Pi, sweet. You can run Doom on that. Yeah. I'm trying to let myself be a little creative about this. And I might look up, what are some common things that people do with a Raspberry Pi? Like, what do people do? Because I want to start having some creative ideas. I want to have some creative things about control circuits, or even not just creative, but figuring out what are some more practical applications. So I think it would be more complicated than I'm giving myself credit for, but what I would really like to do is, so I have curtains in my bedroom. I have blackout curtains in my bedroom, and I would really like to have the curtain, they're on the opposite side of the room from my bed, so it's not like at a certain time of the morning I can be I can be sitting in bed and open the curtains. So I want, at a certain time of day, or maybe at a certain brightness, so maybe put a little like light sensor on it, I want to automate the opening of my curtains. So I'm kind of imagining, like, if I have a Raspberry Pi and I can program it to do this, and like, how do I put, like, I would have to have like a pulley system, so that and like a motor to pull on a pulley system, so that it will just like pull the curtains open. And then I'm gonna have to figure out, like, is that something that I could safely, like, because it's really only gonna, well, I guess I could set it up as like a full pulley system all the way around it, so that it could pull it open and closed. Or could I just close it manually? And is closing it manually going to put any amperage on the motor? Because if you spin a motor with your hands, it can generate a charge. Yeah, anyway, fucking electrical is weird. Special interest time. I have a Raspberry Pi. It has lived in a drawer the entire time I've had it. Listen, it's a fun little thing, but it's not for everybody. I'd love I'd love to learn how to not get sunburn and skin cancer. True, I agree. I loved the circuit making parts of my engineering degree. Soldering and programming Arduino was so much fun. Rupreem, remind me if you haven't told me already, what kind of engineering degree do you have? What kind of engineering have you done? Ooh, I'm getting warm. I feel like maybe I'm not feeling my best right now. Could you have it set to be used by remote and scheduled brightness stuffs? Yeah, so I mean, it's not really the remote part that I'm struggling with. It's more just like, how do you mechanically make the whole curtain move? Like, where do you put the motor, and does how does the pulley system work? Where do things attach? There's a lot of little tiny engineering problems that I would need to think about, or maybe Google and find out if somebody else has automated the opening of their curtains with a pulley system or something. Wetware Angel says, it took exactly 4 months for someone to message me and ask for nudes this year. That's a new record. Damn. Nathan says, there was a brilliant meme. Old Obi-Wan talking to Luke on Tatooine. Luke as mechanic, Obi-Wan as me. Luke, do you know the idiot who worked on your car? Me. Of course I know him. It's me. Yeah. Money causes Raspberry Pi, Arduino, IoT shit, and microcontrollers not my cup of tea at the moment. That's fair. These are all things that my partner purchased a long time ago. The Arduinos and like Raspberry Pis that we all have. So purchased before we even moved out of Kansas, meaning that all of this tariff stuff had not impacted it at the time. I meant just to cover the issue of the manual closing messing with the motor. Oh, sure. Yeah. So yeah, basically like my question is, should I close the curtains manually, or should I program in and also engineer in the ability for the microcontroller to move the curtains back and forth? So I got a mechanical engineering degree, only recently started using it in my quote career. I really like the robotics type classes. Hell yeah. I've been told that robotics is going to be a field where there's lots of work coming up, but I'm kind of trying to future-proof myself against the apocalypse, and I don't think that robotics are going to be a huge part of the apocalypse future, but I do think that hydroelectric dams will be, so you can see where my area of focus might trend. I should set up the Raspberry Pi to an alarm that tasers me when it's time to get up. That would work. Or get a little electric shock pen and do it that way. A little electric shock pen. Designing stuff like that curtain thing is amazingly fun. The gears start turning in your head, and the mind flits between snatch blocks, continuous drive with a clutch for manual movement, etc. So much fun. Yeah, that's going to be a learning curve as well, of like just learning what is there. Like, I watch Evan and Caitlin a lot. Y'all know Evan and Caitlin. They are like a creator couple on YouTube. How's stream going? It's going pretty good. We spent a little while talking about music, and we lost a lot of viewers, but we're picking them back up again. Did y'all hear about the successful Artemis 2 launch? I knew that was happening during show, but I didn't look up the info. Artemis 2. Yeah. Okay. So we launched successfully, which is cool. My understanding is that that's a very heart-stopping point in the process, because we have had shuttles explode on launch and kill astronauts. So that's like a very critical point in the mission. So it's great to hear that it did well. It was only like 45 minutes ago. Artemis 2 mission live. NASA crew blasts off for historic moon launch. So fuck yeah. My understanding as well, and you completely derailed me off of whatever I was in the middle of saying, and I don't remember what it was that I was saying, which is not a problem. That's fine. But now we're talking about space. Artemis 2, the purpose of this mission is to get us back on track for being on the moon. Because, right, like the last time we did this, I was talking to Dr. Aaron Adair about this on the show this week. The last time we went to the moon was like in the 60s, you know, and the whole purpose of us going to the moon was like the space race kind of Cold War bullshit. Like we have to beat Russia to fucking the moon or whatever. And yeah, so we've ended up in this situation. We kind of just dropped it after that point. You know, we were just kind of like, well, who fucking cares now that we did it first? Haha, fuck you, Russia, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It does kind of seem like there are some similar influences where we are trying to get back to the moon before like China. Like China is working on their space program again. So there are some of the same dumb fuck reasons for why we're doing it. But the purpose of this mission is just to do a flyby of the moon. And this is kind of incrementally leading us back to a place where we will have manned landing missions on the moon. And of course, there's conversations about like a moon base. I don't really understand the practicalities of all that. That seems like it's going to be rather difficult to accomplish. But hey, I like space exploration. I'm cool with that. I'm appreciating that we could. I just wish that we didn't have capitalism, right? Like every single aspect of space exploration is poisoned by the profit motive. So, right, like I don't want to put us in a situation where we just take all of the slave labor that's happening on Earth and move it back to like move it to Mars or move it to the moon. And then like, you know, all the inhumane things are happening out there. And there's all these like gray area around the legal situation because technically speaking, you know, of going off of the Martian logic, Andy Weir, that space operates under like international law because, you know, in the same way that like in the center of the fucking Atlantic Ocean, that's not owned by any one country. So there's like maritime law and international law that applies. Like now we got to write laws and agree as a fucking entire planet, or at least the major powers that are going to space have to all agree on what the rules are for how we operate in space and like how to regulate capitalism in space. It just kind of makes me want to cry a little bit. It's just fucking not going to be good. Artemis 2 is currently in high Earth orbit and is going to run for the moon tomorrow. Hell yeah. Artemis 3 is going to test a docking procedure in lunar orbit. Artemis 4 will be boots on the ground. Scheduled for 2028, which means we'll probably actually see it in 2035. True, truly. Yeah, we just got to make sure it's still there. Going to do a little flyby and check it out. It's also going to capture continuous video from Earth to moon. Take that, flat earthers. They're going to make up some fucking excuse. You know, the flat earthers, they have their conclusion and they're going to write whatever they need to in the between the top and the bottom. They're going to write whatever they need to come back to the conclusion that the Earth is flat. I wish we could make a moon base because it's cool and not to make a point to show someone up or try to make money. Yeah. The nice thing about a moon base ideally would be for staging further travel, long-term low-grav experiments and habitat design work and testing, getting it to surface. True. Yeah. I bet like that it would be easier to launch from the moon because of its lower gravity and lack of atmosphere versus launching from Earth. So like I understand in that sense, right? Like we could further more exploration of our solar system by having a space-oriented base on the moon. As in, from now on, we build our rockets on the moon and then we launch them from the moon. Like that makes sense to me. It's just, yeah, the capitalism of it all. Like, we're whalers on the moon. We carry a, what is it? We carry a typhoon? No, that's not right. We carry a harpoon because we work all day and something say and sing this whaling tune, right? Like we don't need roller coaster amusement park on the moon. We don't need that. Please don't do that. Yeah, making rocket fuel on the moon, great staging point and much cheaper launch costs. Absolutely. That makes perfect sense to me. Absolutely. The moon is also well positioned to support the Lagrange points. What are the Lagrange points? I've also never seen the movie Moon, so I don't know what the corpos want. Lagrange points? Lagrange points or libration points are points of equilibrium for small mass objects under the gravitational influence of two massive orbiting bodies. That's good, and also doesn't tell me any more about why that's good. They produce enhanced regions of ... Let's read from NASA. What does NASA say? Lagrange points are positions in space where objects sent there tend to stay put. At Lagrange points, the gravitational pull of two large masses precisely equals the centripetal force required for a small object to move with them. These points in space can be used by spacecraft to reduce fuel consumption needed to remain in position. Lagrange points are positions in space where the gravitational forces of a two-body system, such as the Sun and the Earth, produce enhanced regions of attraction and repulsion, which can be used by spacecraft to reduce fuel consumption needed to remain in position. Okay, cool. That's neat. So it's basically like, yeah, being able to maintain position in space because the gravitational pull of the surrounding bodies is basically holding your position, so you don't have to use fuel to maintain that position. Cool. Space is cool. Highly stable orbit locations. Okay, cool. Yeah. For instance, the JWST orbits a Lagrange point. Okay. The film Moon is a clone worker psychological torture situation to strip mine the surface of the moon for fuel. Yeah, that's what our capitalist overlords are gunning for. That's what they're doing. Nicole, I was making a Futurama reference, by the way. Oh, okay, Pizzotl helped me. We're whalers on the moon. We carry a harpoon, but there ain't no whale, so we tell tall tales and sing a happy tune. Yeah. Guy Fleegman. Who's Guy Fleegman? I've heard this name before. Is it who I'm thinking of? Yeah! Okay, Guy Fleeg. Yeah, we just fucking watched this movie. I forgot his name is just Guy. That's very funny. What else has he been in? Sam Rockwell? What else have you been in? Galaxy Quest. The Green Mile, really? Oh yeah, Iron Man 2. He's in Iron Man 2. Okay. Hell yeah. Zaphod Beeblebratz, true. Essentially, building large space stations at the Lagrange points would be perfect fueling points for spaceships. Yeah! That's so cool. There are actually multiple Lagrange points for Earth. One's in relation to the Moon and Earth, as well as the Earth and Sun. The Earth ones are in front and behind the Moon's orbit, while the Earth orbits are in front and behind the Earth. Cool. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I think that we're just reaching that point in the stream where my brain is soup, and also space is really complicated. Also, what does it mean to be in front of or behind something when you have, like, three-dimensional... Right, it's like Ender's Game. We were just talking about Ender's Game in the Discord server earlier. We do have a Discord server, link in the description for anybody who's not already in there. But the, oh boy, yeah, my brain, oh, this is the point in the day where the Ritalin is wearing off. That might be what's happening. But yeah, what does it mean to be up or below or to the side of and like we have this idea of up and down as relates to the Earth because we have like the North Pole and the South Pole, but even that's fucking meaningless. You could be approaching the Earth from like upside down, and like in relation to what? Loved Ender's Game. Yeah, we were just talking about how Orson Scott Card was super homophobic and stuff, and how the word buggers, even though Orson Scott Card is American, so I don't even know if it would have been on his radar, but the word buggers is like a super, like, not cool anti-gay slur. Hey, we brought it back around. Now we're talking about slurs again. We talked about that at the beginning of the stream. But yeah, bugger is like a slur for gay men. So there's that. I don't know if you'll learn about Lagrange points in undergrad Physics 1, but determining Lagrange points would be viable as a Physics 1 problem. Cool. Highly recommend playing Kerbal Space Program. I've heard good things about it. Kerbal Space Program has taught me that orbital mechanics are simple. I get the impression that you're being sarcastic. Because I don't know what it was. It was like, I don't think it's a game. Maybe it was a game. Or maybe it was just in browser. In browser solar system simulator. Maybe this is not something. Well, yeah, okay. I remember seeing a game and maybe even dicking with it a little bit one time that was like, you would have the orbits just kind of going, and then you could place a new body in the solar system and just watch how it immediately fucks everything up. Because gravity, as it turns out, is pretty weird. But I don't know where it was. I don't remember where it was. If you ever think too hard and get vertigo, do you ever think too hard and get vertigo looking at the sky? No, I don't. Not yet, anyway. Typically, up and down and such are arbitrarily assigned in relation to orbits. The solar ecliptic, which is the plane close to the orbit of most planetary objects around the sun, is often used for determining directional terms. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Hello, E. Lawrence. I feel like I haven't seen your name in a while. Emily, right? Hi, welcome in. We're just talking about space because of Artemis 2 successfully launching this afternoon. So that's pretty fucking exciting. I like that we're doing space again. Again, I don't really understand it, and I'm kind of not interested in pursuing an understanding of it, because I've just got other areas of focus, but... Indeed, yeah, that's correct. We are the third planet from the sun. Good job. I assume that you're saying that sarcastically. Like, you did good, though. You did good. You did good. You take the point of view of the bigger mass, and then it would be in front of and behind the smaller mass. Okay, that makes sense. Take the point of view of the bigger mass. Sure, so like if you're talking about where something is in relation to a planet and its moons, you would base it off of the planet and not the moon's perspective. Because you're basically assigning the importance to the body with the greater gravitational force. Right? That would make sense. I love laying on the ground at night and imagining that I am about to fall off the world. I can actually trigger my falling response. Spoopy. I wanted to be an astronomer as a child, and I still have a soft spot for space exploration. That's exciting. Space is cool. Which part of space is up and which part is down? Asking Viren. One of my favorite physics things is that Newtonian gravity predicts there should be another planet between Mercury and the Sun, which was historically referred to as planet Vulcan, and general relativity showed that wasn't necessary. Cool. Math is so interesting because math had to be invented, right? Like I'm thinking about calculus more recently, and I'm like, dude, somebody invented calculus. Like there was a point at which we didn't have math, and then somebody invented math, and then they made more math. And then math got more complicated and we discovered more things. And that's just really cool. Just really neat. Little factoids. Who is texting me? Okay. Okay, that's just work stuff that I don't need to pay attention to right now. Cool. Down is towards the enemy. Exactly. What's the difference between inner space and outer space? Bro, oh my god. Okay, listen, I gotta take off. Listen. Okay, so earlier this week, we had a Skep Talk with Aaron Ra and Dr. Aaron Adair. And Aaron is a physicist, and somebody called in and was like, I'm a space skeptic. So this is a person who he calls himself a skeptic, and he's called before. He's like he's a skeptic in the worst way, where they're like, I basically refuse to take any information that we have on a topic and take it as like, you know, a lot of stuff that we have to like kind of figure out through inference, right? Like we can't like directly observe black holes. We mostly observe them by observing, excuse me, oh my god, that was crazy, by observing their impact on everything else happening around them. So like, he said he was a space skeptic. And I'm like, how? Is this just what dumb people call themselves when they don't understand something? Like, you're just fucking really dumb, or like have a hard time Listen, I think it's very weird. I'm going to do this whole thing with my eyes closed. It's weird that space is a physical thing with properties, and it can expand and shrink, and it can be compressed or elongated. It's weird, okay? I understand. And right, like the universe is expanding, but it's not like things are getting further apart from each other. It's not like things are moving further away from each other. It's that the actual space in between things is expanding, like the space itself is expanding. And I understand that that's fucking weird, right? Like hi, Jazz Dog. I saw that you were live just now. I hope your stream went well. Like, I don't know, like listen, I relate. I relate with the idea that the concept of space as a physical thing with properties is weird. Because you're like, well, it's just nothing, right? Like, there's just, between my two hands, there's just nothing but oxygen and nitrogen and other trace elements. Like, oh, there's just nothing there. But there's a thing with physical properties. There's like a thing, and it's happening, and we're in it, and space-time is like, kind of like electromagnetism. So correct me if I'm wrong on this, Byron. Space-time is like electromagnetism in that space and time are the same thing, right? Like electromagnetism, like magnetism is electricity and electricity is magnetism. It's just like different aspects of the same forces. Is that right about space time? Like, we call it space time, but it's not just like a cute phrase that we're using. It's because they're fucking literally the same physical thing happening in the world. Anyway, so like, I understand saying, I don't get it. I don't understand how space exists as a physical thing with properties and it can be compressed and elongated. Like, I get that that's complicated and hard to wrap your head around, but you can't just be like, I'm a skeptic. I don't believe in it. You haven't proved it to me. Like, holy fucking shit. Like, we don't understand some things, and that doesn't mean that the thing doesn't exist, or that there isn't like a completely understandable justification for the thing existing and that we just haven't found it yet. Okay, they're not the same thing. They're interconnected. Okay, so unlike electromagnetism is the same thing. It's about how electrons are organized, or how they flow and how they move. So space-time is a different thing. They're interconnected, though. They're related. I'm a general responsibility skeptic. Yeah, I'm skeptical of the idea that I have any responsibilities. Okay, I'll put my glasses back on so that I can read. As with black holes, that's how we measure gravity. We measured its effect. We didn't actually detect gravity itself until 2015. Holy shit! That's crazy! Okay. Science is so cool. They are not the same, but you can't have one without the other. Okay. Dark matter and energy are fun to read up on. Right. Like, dark matter is also a thing that we haven't directly measured. It's just that there must be such a thing. Like, mathematically, there has to be that. And we're just calling it dark matter because we can't, like, directly interface with it. We don't really know what it is directly. So we're just kind of like, this is a placeholder name for a thing that clearly exists mathematically. Damn. We can technically detect black holes directly as they have a very large impact on the gravity of a region. But that's what I'm saying is like, so like we observe black holes because of their impact on the surrounding area. Like, we can view the impact of their gravity on the bodies around them. And it's only been much more recent. And even when you say like we're taking pictures of black holes, what we're taking pictures of is them distorting the light. Because light is also a physical thing with properties that exist, and it can be sped up and slowed down. Like, these are all very weird things. This is very strange. But you can't just be like, I'm a skeptic. Like, oh my God, dude. That was a frustrating. I'm pretty sure I took my headphones out for that conversation. I was like, I don't need to listen to any of this fucking idiot talk. This is crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know how serious he is because he keeps being like, that caller is always like, well, I have all these videos. I make content about this, da da da. I was like, I don't even know if you're real or if you're just grifting hard and you're using us as a platform to try to redirect people back to your content. I don't know. It's weird though. Remembering arguing with this one dumbass who says we have never actually observed evolution, and when I pointed out that bacteria develop antibiotic resistance all the time, he said that doesn't count. Right, this is where people will sometimes be like, I agree that microevolution happens, right? Like, organisms can adapt to their current environment, and that makes sense, but that doesn't mean that there's macroevolution, which is major shifts in speciation over time. Yeah, people are fucking dumb. TLDR. Long story short, people are really dumb. We detected gravitational waves specifically in 2015. Okay, that's very cool. Neat, neat, neat. Yeah, exactly, May. Dark matter is called dark because it doesn't interact with light at all. Only some of it interacts with infrared. It's literally invisible, but its gravity bends light, so we see the effects of it. Yeah. What's crazy is that Maxwell is the one who unified the electromagnetic force, and he died young, but could well have been the one to stumble onto special relativity before Einstein had he lived longer. That's very interesting. Are you clipping me saying people are fucking stupid? Well, guess what? I say that pretty regularly, so you don't even need to do it now. You could do it next time, and I'll probably say it again. Isn't that how you detect anything? You observe its effects on stuff. How do you know a rock is in front of you unless you detect the light it reflects or physically interact with it? That's a good case. I mean, we can test the chemical compositions of a rock though. And it's not it would be like if we can only confirm the existence of a rock when we skip it across the surface of a lake and we see the ripples that it has on the lake, right? But if the rock itself was otherwise like invisible, I think that's more like akin to what I mean by like an indirect sort of ability to see that something has impacts on things around it versus like I can hold a rock, I can smell and taste the rock, I could study its chemical composition, I could break it apart, like. But you make a really interesting case, you know. It's like a really interesting case. Can I even clip on this website? Well, you can clip on YouTube, and I'm streaming on YouTube, and I'm like, what is it called? There's a word for it. It's just embedded on my website, so you could still, there should be that you could hover down here and click the YouTube button, and it would take you to my YouTube channel itself. Yeah, when we're looking for the influence of something, it's because we can't directly observe it with our senses or our sensors, perhaps. Our sensors. No, I'm not multi-streaming. I only stream to YouTube, and that's embedded in the way that you can embed a YouTube video in a website. Like, oh, you go to read an article, and there's a YouTube video not linked in, but it's embedded, and you can play it on the web page. So that's what we do here. It's just I'm just embedded. Every live stream I do, it refreshes and sends it here. So yeah, which is fun. I kept being like, oh, maybe I should start streaming to Twitch, or maybe I should start a second channel or whatever. And now I'm just like, oh, you know what? I would rather not do any of that. So do I have my hair clip out here? I don't know if I do. My hair is just getting a little bit warm. Too many people forget that most of science is about measuring things in a specific and reproducible manner. True. Can you smell what the rock is cooking? I mean, not right now. Maybe the smells will float from the kitchen soon. Nicole says people also need to realize that we define evolution as any change in heritable traits within a population which requires generations worth of time for the changes to become more noticeable. It's not a monkey giving birth to a human like people want to pretend. Right. Like the mere concept of speciation is predicated on the idea that we as humans have a snapshot of like 80 years in which we exist and can observe, in our lifetimes changes. And so we take a snapshot here and we see what's alive now, or, we take a snapshot of, we have one fossil that exists in the fossil record. We have Tiktaalik that shows us the sort of transitional things going on, where like animals went from primarily in the water to then being able to go on the land. And Tiktaalik just has like some bones in its fins that would have allowed it to drag itself onto the shore to have access to food that other species wouldn't have had access to. And then they can return to the water, which is their primary biome. But even like we're all thinking about like what, we're looking for transitional species between this and that. But we are all currently transitional species between one thing and another thing. It's just that we're viewing it through this lens of these windows of short, like pretty short on an evolutionary timeline, pretty short periods of time. And so, yeah, it's like we're all transitional species. Every species that exists now is a transitional species between something that existed before and something that will exist in the future. And we can place ourselves within an evolutionary timeline, and the more fossils we find and the more secrets we unlock about genomes and DNA and everything, the more we can piece that timeline together. But like science predicted the existence of Tiktaalik before we found it, like before we found the fossilized remains that tell us, yes, for sure, this type of transitional species exists and we have evidence for it. But yeah, anyway, I think evolution's a really interesting topic. Come to Twitch. Yeah, but I'd have to dual stream or start streaming on a different day of the week to stream on Twitch, and I just don't want to fucking do it. Oh, be safe out there, Nathan. Going on a long driving trip. Aren't we technically fish? I love how the fish doesn't exist. Tree doesn't exist. Fish doesn't exist. Like from no perspective does fish actually exist. Oh my gosh, excuse me. The notion of species is itself quite fuzzy because the classical definition requires that you would have to have sexual reproduction, but there are currently cross-species breeding, which defeats the classical definition. Yeah, like, I know that there are some issues with like, it's not necessarily defined by whether there can be reproduction between two separate species, quote unquote, but rather whether those offspring are themselves able to reproduce. So you can have like mules, but I don't know, are mules? No, mules are generally sterile and cannot reproduce with each other because they inherit an odd number of chromosomes from their parents. Horses with 64 chromosomes and donkeys with 62. Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of... But yeah, I agree. I agree that speciation is itself a spectrum and it's imprecise and we don't have a lot of clear definitions about it. So, yeah. We are fish if you go by the one drop rule. I'm a fish skeptic. Fucking Christ, dude. If you want to see speciation getting real fuzzy, look into American bison breeding with cattle. Oh boy. Oh no. Oh, hold on, my desk is really messy right now. Bison breeding with cattle. Beefalo? I was wondering if beefalo was a real thing, and it is. Wikipedia, beefalo. Beefalo constitutes a hybrid offspring of domestic cattle, usually a male, and the American bison, typically a female, in managed breeding programs. The breed was created to combine the characteristics of both animals for beef production. Beefalo are primarily cattle in genetics and appearance, with the breed association defining a full beefalo as one with 3/8 bison genetics, 37%, while animals with higher percentages of bison genetics are called bison hybrids. However, genomic analysis has found that the vast majority of beefalo, even those considered pedigree by the breed association, have no detectable bison ancestry, with no sampled beefalo having higher than 18% bison ancestry, and with most beefalo consisting of a mixture of taurine cattle and zebu cattle ancestry. That's interesting. They look so fucking stacked. Look at how yoked this dude is. Damn, that's a penis. All right, that's very fascinating. Okay, I'm closing some tabs because I don't need all these tabs open. I only see fancy forms of algae. True. Also, no such thing as a vegetable. Is it a leaf, a root, a fruit, an allium? A vegetable is just any part of a plant that we eat. Well, I mean, fruit is a part of a plant, and we don't call them vegetables, but that's a culinary distinction for sure. Like, fruit versus vegetable is primarily a culinary distinction of, like, how is this used? I always wonder about our semi-aquatic traits, like collapsible lungs. If you put a cow in a bathysphere, their lungs implode, but our lungs are like a sperm whale's. Interesting. I didn't know that. Some proportion of wild bison in the USA are part cow, and you get differences by sex in the offspring and whether or not they're fertile. Okay. All fruits are vegetables. A vegetable is an edible part of a plant. Really? I mean, is that the taxonomic definition? If you breed a bison with a cow, males are infertile, but females are fertile, or vice versa. Also, I was reading just now that mules, like sometimes a female mule who breeds with a male horse can have babies. So that's, again, another thing where it sort of depends on the sex of the animal. Very weird. We've had so much very fun science conversation today. So much fun. We got to talk about space, and we talked about COVID, and we talked about soldering, which I guess is kind of science. I mean, yeah, computer science, electrical technology is a type of science. Oh boy, we've had so many fun conversations today. Oh my god, dude. So one of the things that I've realized recently, and I'm going to get hypermobility testing to see. So this is one of the things, I don't think this is on any of the markers for testing hypermobility, but my shoulders are super, super hypermobile. Like, actually, I think they're sore a little bit because I stretched them at the gym yesterday. So I can, like, really easily fully reach behind my back and put my hand flat in the middle of my back like this. But I can't do that if I make an active effort to keep my arm in the socket. If I make a deliberate effort to keep my shoulder stable, I can only reach about this far, and then I have to start engaging the stretch, and sometimes I can get a little bit more. If I stretch a little bit, like, oh, there, it's starting to get a little bit more. And the same thing with this one. I'm like, oh wow, I'm so crazy flexible. I can get my arm all the way across. Look at this. It's close to my body and everything. But then if I make an active effort to keep my arm in the socket, here, I'll do it this way. If I make an active effort to keep my shoulder stable, then suddenly I can only do this. Isn't that crazy? So am I like partially subluxing my shoulder sockets, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all to like touch my back in the middle of my back. It doesn't hurt. So I'm gonna get that looked at. Get that looked at soon. I used to be able to escape straitjackets. I was a stage contortionist back when I was a traveling street performer. That's fun. I've never tried to do that, but I probably could. Maybe even without hurting myself. Subluxandering, true. It's like subluxing usually hurts though. And I like, I don't know. Can you touch all the parts of your back? I think so. Like, you know, sometimes you gotta come around like this to get the sides, but yeah, I am really, really, really flexible in my shoulders. Can't no, no, no. Okay, what I'm saying is that like it feels like there's a difference where like this is like my shoulder isn't even stably in its socket. But if I try to keep my shoulder in its socket, then I can't stretch the same. So it feels like there's some weirdness going on where like my shoulder is not quite in its socket correctly. But I don't know. Can everybody do that? Can everybody do that? I don't know. Just means you're flexible. But I think that I'm hyper flexible. A real straitjacket requires you to dislocate your shoulder 100%. Definitely not a healthy trick. Yeah, my partner actually dislocated both of his shoulders when he was young, and now he can just kind of like pop it actually out of the socket. And like there's a weird little indent in his arm right here when he does it. He's like, I shouldn't be doing that, but I can. Do you listen to Swans? Is that a band or like the Birds? I haven't seen any swans since I moved to Oregon. Not everyone can do that. The touching like you just did, holding your hand behind your back, is one of the hypermobility tests. Yeah, I can almost like if I'm really flexible, I can get like a full hand overlap situation. So that'll be fun. I also have the crazy elbows. Both of them, crazy elbows. So yeah, I get to do hypermobility testing as my next, like, the next time I go see my doctor in person. Swans is a band. Yeah, I don't listen to a lot of music. I know, I'm a loser. I'm a weirdo. It's strange, the things that I do. But like I said, I was trying to do Lego while listening to music this weekend, and I literally kept fucking up my Lego because I couldn't think straight. Like I was like, I'm having a hard time focusing on the Lego. When I do Lego, I enter a fugue state. My partner was saying like, oh, you know, it's good for you to do a giant Lego set because you're learning Lego engineering logic. You know, when we build Lego together without instruction sheets, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel very creative, and I just don't know what to do. And so I'm trying to pay a little bit more attention now because I've done many, many, many Lego sets. But like as I enter like a fugue state where I'm like this and then this and then this and then this and then this, and it's just like a constant dopamine roller coaster. I guess it's a roller coaster except that you're peaked the entire time. But I'm trying to pay more attention now. Like, oh, look at how these things fit together. Look at how they accomplished this. Oh, I never really thought that these pieces could go together in this way. So yeah, I don't know. It's been fun. How far does your pinky go back towards your forearm if you gently pull it back? Like that much. Like this much. And then I've got this one. I've got the thumb. This one gets pretty close to touching my arm on this side. It's not as much on this side. But yeah, I've got that one. What's the best time a cis het ever used the F slur? I mean, I think right now I'm going with the reference that I made earlier today in the stream, and I'm going to say it's Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. That's it. For me right now, one of my top times of a cis het person using the F slur. It's very funny. The way they build in the Lego games. I've never played the Lego game. We watched the Lego movie not too long ago, and I thought it was so funny because Will Arnett is voicing Batman, but he's just BoJack Horseman. Batman in the Lego movie is just BoJack Horseman. Like, it's so fucking funny. I want to watch it again. And I know that there is like a second Lego movie, and then they're working on like a Lego Batman movie specifically. Jesus Christ, I'm dreading editing our last episode because DM said the F slur like 20 times in a minute. Yeah, I was doing a little bit of a little marketing, a little teaser earlier, and I was like, yeah, there's like a 2-minute section of the video or of the podcast where it's just gonna be beep 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 beep. It's gonna be like Morse code up in this bitch. Uncensored version on Spotify though. Later, Shakespeare. Have a good night. Yeah, we're just about wrapped up here. Usually I wrap. There was already a Lego Batman movie. Okay, cool. I want to watch it because it's so funny. Batman is just BoJack Horseman in the Lego movie, and it's voiced by Will Arnett. It's hilarious. Wait, what? Goku's voice actor, Christopher something, called his son a little F word in the outtakes? His own son or Gohan? Wait, what? Wait. No, it's not Christopher. Why was I thinking Christopher? It's Sean Schemmel. The adult voice for Son Goku in the English dub of the Dragon Ball. Okay, cool. Yeah, Sean Schemmel. Are you fucking with me? F slur? I'm not seeing anything. Wait, Sean Schemmel literally spewed out homophobic slurs. This is a fucking Facebook post, so who knows how real this is. You're trying to play a video now. Stop it. Do not play sound. Do not play video. Sean Schemmel literally spewed out homophobic slurs while using the voice of Goku, tarnishing the character's reputation, and people still defend him instead of Vic, whose allegations were never proven. Okay, this is just some random thing from like 7 years ago on Facebook, so I'm not going to listen to this right now. I'll come back to it later, because I'm not about to let this play the F word on my stream. I'll say the F word, but that's me. I'm allowed to say the F word. Actually, I don't know if I'll get in trouble for doing that. I haven't... Like, there's still ads playing on the live stream, so I didn't zonk myself out saying the F word earlier. Sean Schemmel is a bit of an ass as far as I know. Sure. Yeah. Best use of the F slur is an idiocracy. I still quote the doctor's diagnosis. As a former medical professional, that diagnosis of the chart says your shit's all R word and you talk like a F word, that kills me all the time. That's funny, and I gotta watch it again. I haven't seen Idiocracy since the first time, I think. Chris Sabat is who I was thinking of. Vegeta and Piccolo. Yeah. He's cool. He seems cool. Chris Sabat does a whole lot of other work, because my partner was like, yeah, I've been watching a lot of anime, and Chris Sabat is all over the place. Haha, he's not cooler, but he is cooler than Schemmel. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. I do think that the voice actors in Dragon Ball Z Abridged do a pretty good job. Like, it certainly hasn't replaced, Chris Sabat, for example. Like, hasn't replaced but I hear Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z Abridged going, dodge! And that's very funny to me. I do also really like that the Goku from Dragon Ball Z Abridged is just a fucking idiot. Is pretty funny to me. He's like real dumb. Way dumber than the actual Goku is. So anyway, I'm a little bit over time. Thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. I'm going to get the hell out of here and go chill. And I feel like there was something I needed. I got to run the dishwasher. So yeah, I'm going to go do those things, and I will see you all on Sunday, or hold on, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I got a long day tomorrow. I'm doing Takis and then Calling It Now with Jimmy, so look out for the pings in the Discord. I'll post there, and yeah, we're gonna take some calls and see if we can get some spice and have fun. So love y'all, be good between now and then go to sleep. Yeah, go have a good night's sleep, I guess. I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point. Okay, bye.